We're about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
Alrighty. Tux, what's going on, man?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it
good
going,
morning,
everyone?
Are you surviving the apocalypse so far?
Yeah. Got my food rations and my fish.
We had 2 earthquakes in New York.
Yeah, that was crazy. I saw some of the footage, and right after the really large one in Taiwan, that one's like way bigger. But the one for New York, I guess, was like biggest in like a century.
Yeah, it was definitely the biggest one I've ever been through in New York. I remember. Well, there was the one that happened in Baltimore a few years ago, but no, this one I like, me personally felt the shake significantly. I was like, holy shit, that's a fucking earthquake.
So you guys actually
I was like you knew right away when it was happening. Like I was in my office, the building, it's a big building, and like for it to start to shake, I was like, there's nothing that would be shaking this building right now. And it just kept going. So that was pretty crazy. Then a second earthquake. And yeah, now we're on our way. Well, actually, we just arrived. We headed up to Montreal so we could see the total solar eclipse on Monday. So it's like jam-packed with, low probability events for the weekend. Right? Like 2 earthquakes and a total solar eclipse. I never thought I'd be jamming that into one weekend. That's like astronomical odds.
That is pretty crazy. And I mean, even where you in New York City, you'd still get like probably like 80% coverage of the eclipse.
Yeah, you get 80%, but I want to get that totality. I mean, I think it's going to be just a completely different experience because with the 80%, even 90%, it's still light out. There's still light in the sky. When it goes total, I mean, it goes complete blackout. And the place we're going, we're in Montreal. Actually, let me bring up the map.
Oh, I think I brought one up.
Let me see if I can bring this one up.
You're sure yours? Yep.
I like this one. I know, even though we don't like the New York Times, but there you go. Can you see it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so this one's good. So let's see. We're in Montreal right now. So we're looking pretty good for tomorrow. I mean for Monday. So 0 to 20% cloud cover. And you get a 1 minute total eclipse. You're right on the border there. Montreal's like right on the border. But if you head down a little bit, like we're going to go to Plattsburgh, which is only an hour away. I'm sure there'll be traffic tomorrow, but normally it's like less than an hour away. You go down there. Oh, you got cloud. Oh, it's showing cloud cover now, though. Oh no. But look at the total you get. You get 4 minutes of total eclipse. That's insane. 4 complete minutes of complete blackout.
That's pretty good. Can they stop the chemtrailing just for this event, please?
I don't know. I'm excited. 4 minutes of complete total blackout. Oh, we have our obsidian that we brought from Mexico. Did you get it on that trip? I forget if you got one too.
Yeah, I got. I didn't get like the stone thing. I kind of wish I did now, but I got like a little like obsidian turtle, which is not going to help me.
We brought the stones. I should have brought it up here.
I think I have a glasses from the 2017 eclipse though.
Okay. Yeah, it'd just be cool to try out the obsidian thing, obviously.
Yep.
The glasses are more ideal, but the cool part I think is when it's just going to be complete total blackout and then you'll see the the solar flares coming off of the sun behind it. It's just gonna be insane. I don't know. I'm excited.
I'll be sick.
How about you? So what's your plan? Are you just staying put, or are you gonna try to go somewhere to watch it? Oh, Franya.
Probably stay. It's if I want to get 100%, it's gonna be like a 8-hour drive. So
there's the Obsidian disc.
Oh, that's a lot bigger than I thought.
Yeah, this is the one I got from my
good.
I got from my daughter. So it's cool. I brought my daughter up here. We'll go see it, and then 20 years from now, we can maybe see it again. But all right. Other than that, we got a lot of exciting Monero news. Oh my god! And so we have the perfect guest for today, the most ideal guest we could possibly get, given everything that's going on right now in Monero. We have Luke Parker that's going to jump on, and he's going to explain to us what's going on with full membership proofs. Apparently, there is a path towards implementing them pre-Seraphis, using bulletproofs to do it, which are something obviously Monero already uses, and so being able to implement full membership proofs into like the current ring CT scheme that Monero uses, which is amazing. What that effectively does is fast tracks the implementation of full membership proofs. We're no longer waiting for Seraphis. So super excited about that. Tux, what's your initial reaction to all that?
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be a really, really like massive upgrade, especially given the recent events we had with the definite spam attack and possible black marble attack. I did look through Rucknium did a research paper recently. It went into a lot of detail on what happened recently and what a black marble attack is. It's pretty cool. And the effective ring signature size went from like 16 to like 5.5, potentially, assuming the same attacker is the one that's creating all those spam transactions, which that's pretty significant. So
yeah. That's really significant. It's a wake-up call for everybody, right? Everybody always knew it was a problem, but it was it's theoretical, and now we're actually experiencing it. So I think that's definitely lit a fire under everybody, which is maybe that's what the spammer was doing after all, right? Maybe they were nudging us forward.
Network testing, yeah. That's best case scenario, is that it was just somebody trying to bloat the blockchain. Worst case scenario is that it was somebody actually seeing how far they could get with something like a de-anonymization attack, like a black marble attack. So that's worst case scenario. But thankfully it never got they probably could have gone farther. It never got to the point where true spends were discovered, but it did significantly reduce the anonymity set that's brought by the ring signatures.
Yeah, and then recently, I think the transaction count dropped again, but didn't go all the way back down. It's still like, if you want to bring that up real quick, I think we're still like 50K transactions. So that's pretty interesting, right? It's like the attack is over, but it's still, the transactions are still higher than they were.
Yeah, so here you can see attack full on 140K basically every day, 130K, 120K for like a couple weeks. And then it dropped off to like 60K. And for a few days there, it was to that previous median of like 20, 25K. Went back up a little bit. Not sure what that was. Never went back up to 100K though. It went up to like 50K. But
yeah, it's still double than what it was, right? We were typically at 20K.
Still double. So I mean, I could see definitely some of that being natural growth, but that is definitely a lot more.
Yeah, I think we even saw Shop'nBit came in. Monero blew Bitcoin away in transactions made on Shop'nBit this past the past report. I don't know if it was for a quarter or whatever. So that's interesting. So there is evidence of people using Monero more, right? So
for sure.
It is possible. Now, we had Luke in the backstage, but we talked so much. Now he paused his video. I hope he's still there. Luke, are you there? We'll bring him up now, right? We might as well jump through this.
I'll run the guest segment.
Like and share. Let's get the word out. This is going to be an epic conversation here. We're getting to hear from
smash the like.
We're getting to hear from Luke Parker, fresh off of proposing this full membership proofs pre-Seraphis.
Literal young genius. He's like a prodigy.
Breaking news, guys. Breaking news.
All right,
let's bring him up.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
All right, Luke, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. How are y'all?
Good. What are you doing with regards to the total solar eclipse? Are you anywhere near totality?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm currently in the path of it, but I'm either in the path of it or I'm like in a couple hours off of it. So I'm heading out with a few friends to go see it in person.
Nice. Awesome, man. Enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
So wanted to bring you on. So happy you made the time. A lot's happened this week with regards to potential path forward for full membership proofs. You're the guy leading the charge. We got you on. Tell us all about it, and then I'll continue to pick your brain, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure. So full-chain membership proofs, it's something I've prior talked about. I actually announced my work on them almost a year ago at the prior Monero.Con. And the plan was to do them with Seraphis. Seraphis, of course, being this upgrade to Monero's transaction protocol that just is massively sane. And there's no real other way to put it. It's massively sane. It's just a sane transaction protocol. And it cleans up a lot of our tech debt. It moves from us kind of assembling proofs together into a very more formal and academic distinction. It enables a lot of new features. One partnered with Jamtis, the proposed new address scheme. We're talking, the ability to see when an output is spent if you share that view key. So that just gets you a bit finer control. We're talking about delegated view tag finding. So anyone you can trust. You don't want to trust them to have your Monero view key. You don't want them to see, every time you make a transaction, but you do trust them to handle, 99% of the computational load and kind of filter down what transactions might be yours without ever truly knowing. That was going to be another thing introduced. We were no longer putting wallet data into TXextra, which was going to be great. There's a lot of reasons that I can love Seraphis. And one of the things it being this more academic formulation brought is the separation of proofs. Right now, we have the CL-SAG proof, which we use as our signature, specifically our ring signature. And that handles a few different things. That handles membership. My output, which I'm spending, is one of these outputs, but I won't tell you which. It handles, ownership or spend authority or spend authorization, however you want to phrase it. Yes, I am the owner of this output, and I am not stealing Doug's coins. And then it handles linkability. This is a key image. And this key image is unique. It's unique to this output. And because this key image has never appeared on the blockchain before, I have never spent this output before. And that's how you know I'm not spending this output twice. So one of the main advantages of Seraphis is it broke this one proof into two. It broke it into membership as one proof, and then distinctly as another proof was the signature. This is my output. And with the signature, it proved the correctness of the quote-unquote linking tag. As I said prior, the key image is how we satisfy, quote, linkability. The linking tag is basically, from a user's perspective, it's the same thing. The linking tag is just the more academic notion of a key image. So that is something that is much appreciated because my prior work on full-chain membership proofs was just for that. It was solely for membership. And if I try to put a membership proof into Monero right now, that doesn't work. If I just put a membership proof into Monero, cool, what are you replacing? Oh, the CL-SAG. Oh no, that also handles, this ownership and linkability properties. You can't replace that with just a membership proof. You need to do all of these other steps. And because of that, it just really made sense to do FCMPs with Seraphis, also because of how notable the evolution with Seraphis would be. Seraphis was already targeting more privacy. It was already this long looked forward to hard fork. It was already changing wallet software. I was trying to move to a curve cycle with it, and that would offer much greater efficiency, so on and so on. So when Seraphis explicitly provides this framework, and when Seraphis is already doing all of these other great things, and it's already a time of such transition, it just really made sense to do things with Seraphis. But then, of course, recent spam attacks, and the question was, and I was talking with someone, it was this random off comment in like Monero or Monero community or Monero dev, and it was like, so when are can we discuss like FCMPs in the next hard fork, or when are FCMPs happening? I forget the exact question, Ethan, and I was like, no, we're not discussing those until we're discussing the Seraphis launch. Like, ideally, yes, in my opinion, we would launch Seraphis with FCMPs, but we're not discussing this until then. And then I'm like, wait, why aren't we discussing this until then? If the demand for them has gone up, what would be such a formulation? And I kind of just popped into MRL, and I'm like, do we want to discuss this? Do we want to be discussing, FCMPs before Seraphis? And the obvious question is like, how would you do that? You just said that, you can't just have FCMPs replace CL-SAG. They do two different things. One does membership and ownership and linkability. How can you just propose this replacement? So I was kind of thinking about it, and I designed two different exact methods which would work. But what I ended up doing is I ended up proposing this one specific mechanism where instead of the membership proof outputting what in Seraphis would be an e-note, a squashed e-note. Right now in Monero, we have a couple different variables floating around. We have the output key, which is who's allowed to spend an output. And then with that output is the amount commitment. The commitment is, the cryptographic representation of the amount that hides it so that no one else can see what the amount is. But it also lets us do, zero knowledge proofs off of it to say that, yes, this output is actually worth 100 Monero, and I am actually spending 100 Monero. I am not taking an output worth 100 Monero and spending 5 million Monero. So right now we have these two different things. We have the output key and the amount commitment. And then we also have yet another item. We have the quote key image generator. So again, we use key images to prevent double spends, and these have a very specific way of being generated. And they have each of them has their own variable as part of this process. So we're kind of looking at an output as three different things, the output key, the amount commitment, and the quote key image generator, this extra variable that we use for the key images. And the question is, how do we modify full chain membership proofs to either A, handle this inside of itself, or B, not just output this squashed e-note, which under Seraphis was one variable, and that's all we needed. We only needed this one variable. We didn't have to keep track of these three different variables. So either how can we have the full chain memberships proof do this internally, or how can we have it output all three of those variables in a way that's safe and then still lets us do, after the fact, ownership and linkability. So I immediately proposed a sketch. I'm not happy with that sketch. That sketch was fine. It's just not the optimal sketch for a couple of reasons. When I wrote my thoughts more formally, I did a different sketch. And basically, just as when you spend an output, you output a when you spend an output, again, your output has an amount commitment. and your input also has an amount commitment. Obviously, these can't be the same commitment. We want them to have the same amount, so you can't mint more coins, but we don't want them to look the same, and we don't want anyone to be able to distinguish that, yes, they are in fact for the same amount. So what we do is for your input, we apply something, we apply re-randomization. We just redo the randomness within it so that it still contains the same value, but it looks completely different to someone else. And that's what the proposal here is. We have the membership proof, which was prior proposed. We modify it to output not just the squashed enode, this one variable, yet the output key and the key image generator and the amount commitment. And we do it in a way that all of them are re-randomized, so no outside observer can tell which is which. Then we actually do still add a second proof. So just as Seraphis was proposing using 2 proofs for this purpose, this also proposes using 2 proofs. The second proof just internally, undoes the re-randomization and proves that yes, all of these are consistent and valid and someone isn't lying about what they are, and creates the expected key image. And there's actually a few really interesting effects for this. One, I think our memory requirements for hardware wallets will actually go down, because that's why you don't want 1 proof for all of this. If you had 1 proof for all of this, we now have to require hardware wallets, anything that have the private spend key, they suddenly have to do these giant bulletproofs for membership. Because if we just had this one giant proof, then yes, the membership proof would have to have the private key, which means the proof would have to be created by someone with the private key, which means whatever has the private key has to do bulletproofs, which isn't ideal. So we do 2 separate proofs. I think the second proof I'm proposing will actually be a bit smaller, quite a bit smaller actually, for hardware wallets, which is nice for them because hardware wallets frequently have very limited memory. So anything that frees up space there is something I'm happy about. But also, I believe will provide a series of very nice, let's go with side effects. Right now with Monero, we don't have transaction chaining, and transaction chaining has been something discussed before. Notably, it would allow some, and I emphasis on some layer 2 designs. Layer 2s as in payment channels. Doug, if the 2 of us are frequently sending Monero back and forth, we can just create payment channels to each other. And then we don't have to do an on-chain Monero transaction. We don't have to tell people on-chain a transaction is occurring. Obviously, Monero is private. They want to be able to tell it to us, and they want to be able to tell the amount. But we don't even have to tell the blockchain a transaction is occurring because we would just privately keep the data between us. And no matter how many transactions we did, we'd only put 1 transaction on-chain and only pay the fees once. So yeah, payment channels can be great. And some payment channel designs, which I wouldn't endorse. Like technically they're enabled, but I also wouldn't endorse them, so I have to caveat that. But some payment channel designs require transaction chaining. Because this separates, because of how I'm proposing this, I think ideally we do get transaction chaining with it, which offers a few nice properties. Theoretically, it would enable some L2 designs for my work specifically on Surai. Now that I think about it, it lets us get a bit more efficiency done, so on and so on. So transaction chaining is just a nice property to have. It was actually something that was planned to come with Seraphis. So kind of also jumping the gun on that feature. And then I was reviewing one other aspect of privacy, not privacy in the moment, but privacy against a quantum computer. Because it doesn't matter if you believe they're happening in 5 years. It doesn't matter if you believe they're happening in 10 years. It doesn't matter if you believe they're going to happen in 100 years. It doesn't change that the moment someone has one, unfortunately, they can de-anonymize most of the internet today. And that would include Monero. So being robust against this is kind of this idea of forward secrecy. No matter what happens in the future, your data is still private. So I was looking at extending this as well with forward secrecy. The design isn't quite there yet, but it's not technically impossible. It's not there yet. I don't want to propose forward secrecy as happening with this next step, because I really want to develop, plan, and execute a very efficient and very tight timeline for full chain membership proofs in order to ensure that they happen with the respect and expediency they deserve, and they don't languish in development for another few years.
Can you just explain? Can you just explain forward secrecy real quick? Like what exactly?
Sure. So it's if you make a transaction today, a quantum computer, whenever it comes out, 5 years, 20 years, 100 years.
Okay. You're being quantum proof for the future. Okay.
Right. It wouldn't make us quantum proof against, inflation attacks, but it would prevent a quantum computer from figuring out who sent transactions. Right now, a quantum computer against Monero can remove sender privacy. They can pick any output and they can find the exact input it was spent in. So forward secrecy, at least as I'm using it here, would be a quantum computer could not determine what input spent in output. The design isn't impossible, but it requires a more complicated proof. And that more complicated proof would be the proof executed by a hardware wallet. So I don't want to propose it at this time, but it is something else I was considering.
That's amazing that it's a potential possibility already at this point. Like you see a path towards that.
Well, I actually wouldn't have considered it possible with key images. Explaining that will require me explaining the math of key images for about 15 minutes, so I'll refrain from that. But it's not possible. It's just fundamentally isn't possible no matter what proof you use with how we currently define output keys and how we currently define key images. So because of that, the idea is, of course we would have to change how output keys are defined, and we'd have to change how key images are defined, and in order to enable forward secrecy. And unfortunately, doing that would restart the privacy pool. We'd have to make a new set of outputs, a new set of privacy. And that was being proposed with Seraphis because of all of the improvements Seraphis brought. I was looking at it. There's ways it's not technically impossible because we wouldn't tweak the definition of key images. And as long as the definition of key images, it's complicated. There's a lot of caveats here. Please don't quote me on this. But basically, as long as the key image for any prior output is still the key image for that prior output, it doesn't make that prior output spendable again, and we can continue forward. So I was like, technically, we would slightly change the definition of key images, but all outputs that were prior spent would have the same key image. Therefore, they would not become spendable again. With that in mind, we would actually change the definition of output keys. And that's what kind of enables this design. So this is a very future thought, and it's not something I want to get into right now. It's actually backstory for what I was wanting to get to. But while I was looking into forward secrecy, I noted that technically one could redefine output keys. Right now, output keys are just a very traditional public key. It's your private key with the mathematic operations behind it to convert it to a public key. I'll be very vague and non-mathematical about this. And I was noting while I was actually reviewing this proof, technically you can define your public key differently. Instead of defining your public key as this one private key converted to a public key, you can add this extra element to it. And if you add this extra element to it, you can still produce proofs and still spend the output. And that was initially a concern for me. Like, people can now throw random stuff into their public key and my work doesn't care. Should it care? Is this an issue? Is this a vulnerability? Looking through it, no, it appears fine to me. Obviously, we will have to get this formally reviewed. And if we need to tweak it so that these extra elements are banned, they're banned, so be it. I already wrote up the math on how they would be banned. But as part of this, what I noted is because you're technically allowed this extra element, I believe we might actually be able to discuss what I would call an outgoing view key today, as in the ability to detect when an output you received is spent. So if you have a light wallet, and you don't have the private key, but you're still making sure you receive Monero, now your light wallet would automatically be able to tell when your private key did come online and did actually spend Monero. So if you do decide to make a transaction from your hardware wallet, or from your cold storage device, you wouldn't have to, copy data from your cold storage device and plug it into your light wallet and be like, yep, here's all the outputs I spent, here you go. Your light wallet, or your hot wallet, sorry, I'm mixing up my terminology here. Your hot wallet, if you gave it this additional outgoing view key, would automatically be able to detect, oh, by the way, you pulled out your cold storage device and spent these outputs. Yep, I can just detect that because you gave me this extra private key. So was looking, too long didn't read, was looking at forward secrecy. It's not quite there yet, and I don't want to propose it at this time, but I did actually notice that it would enable us in the future to change how we define output keys. And with that, there's also the potential we could introduce outgoing view keys, the ability to detect when an output was spent. So that's actually something I'd really look forward to, because the inability to detect when an output you received was spent is actually very annoying for me. A lot of the work I did over at Sarai was handling exactly that, because we have this, adversarial multisig. We have, let's say, 10 guys in a room, and if any 7 of them can manage to agree to, they can just take the XMR for themselves. And obviously, Sarai has this economic design around that to ensure that there's never incentive to do so. And if it ever happens, Sarai is expected to be able to recoup the value, so on and so on. But that doesn't change that we do have to have procedures in order to detect if it did in fact happen, because we have to know if it did in fact happen in order to move forward with the slashing process, where we slash their stake of presumably greater value. And as part of that, I had to write all of this code because we can't detect when an output is spent. So we have to write all of this other code that isn't detecting when an output is spent, but is detecting this other class of behaviors which are inherent side effects to it. It's a whole thing. So yeah, outgoing view keys would actually just be very great for cold and hot wallets. It'd be great for multisigs. It would be great for my personal work. And I believe that's something that would also be enabled by this, which I'm very happy about.
That's
amazing.
the main reason that that view-only wallets don't work well, right? Because you can't tell if an output has been spent, and when you get the change back, it shows up as new money, not as a change output.
Right, and practically you can assume, hey, this transaction had a ring of 16, and for every single input it had, one of the ring members was an output I detected as mine, and also this looks like the change amount from that. So it's not that incoming view keys can't already guess with incredibly high confidence. It's that technically, yes, they're guessing. Now they'd be able to know with certainty, and that also helps with, like charity auditing. You want to donate to a charity, you can see how much money the charity's received, and you can also see how much they've spent. That would be one of the great benefits of this kind of outgoing view key. So it started out as just full chain membership proofs. By design, it kind of mirrored the proof separation within Seraphis. And I'm hoping to actually get, after having made this proposal, which was just for full chain membership proofs, it sounds like we might get a few really nice features out of it as well.
Amazing. I mean, this sounds like a renaissance in Monero moment here, right? All these things. I had no idea. So just if you could just step back for a moment. I think maybe you did say it, but if you can kind of rephrase it, what was the moment that it was realized that essentially full membership proofs can be implemented pre-Seraphis into bulletproofs? Like, what has that been realized already for some time? It's been theoretical for some time. I know like Liam Egan, I think, has participated in this, right? And then I was looking back at some of these other like bulletproof plus papers. Were these things talked about then, or did everything just kind of come together recently with this realization?
Few comments. The full chain membership proofs has always been proposed to use a slightly modified bulletproofs. So the fact that it's being done with bulletproofs isn't, the newer exciting part here. Sorry, a bit of the sniffles today. discussion about doing it pre Seraphis with Ring CT is one I briefly considered before, but I kind of wrote it up as non-possible because the ideas I had for it were like, we would redefine every address, which is obviously something we do not want to do. It's not something we want to do. It's not pleasant to do. It should not be done. But my idea was like, we would redefine every address. And with the redefinition of every address, we would make every address have its spend key be something called a Peterson commitment. Then the output keys would be in the form of a Peterson commitment. And then the membership proof would remove the randomness in the Peterson commitment to get to the actual value. You would not be able to distinguish the value from the Peterson commitment in which it came from, which is why it would be unlinkable. And then you could do pretty standard signatures over it. There was like all of these thoughts, and it wasn't that it was impossible, it's that you would need new addresses. And I think one of the concerns is that if someone sent to you, they'd be able to detect when you spent your coins. I think that was the concern as well. So if I pay you back, if we're out, we get drinks, I pay you back for picking up the bill in USD, Doug, because you're always eager to pick up some more Monero. Then I'd be able to see when 24 hours later, you spent that Monero. You must be grabbing drinks with someone else. Why wasn't I invited? And that's kind of the privacy issues we would face. So it's not that I thought it impossible. It's that when I briefly thought about the design, there were issues with it. If it requires a new address format, obviously that's not something we want to do until Seraphis, because Seraphis does enough things to make it worth it. The reason I move forward with it now is because, one, I had a new idea about how to do it, which would actually be efficient. And two, the estimates for Seraphis, which were being discussed, were longer than my personal estimates. So due to the discrepancy in presumed timing, I wanted to move forward with the quicker option to ensure privacy now.
Amazing. What can you tell us about Liam Egan and the contributions he's made? Because we've reached out to him. He said he'll come speak at Monerotopia. My understanding he's played some role in the development of the cryptography in this arena.
Mind if I ask if in person or virtually?
I think we're trying to get him in person. He seemed eager to attend.
All right. Well, yeah, if they're coming in person, please let me know. I'd love to know about that.
Yeah, I mean, that was the idea, and to get you there as well. Obviously, I mean, that would be the dream come true.
So Liam Egan, they're quite smart. They personally did a few different preprints. They did one on the application of elliptic curve divisors for proving, this is all mathematical, I know, but they posited using elliptic curve divisors for efficient in-circuit inner product proofs. We're not looking at doing inner product proofs. We're solely looking at doing elliptic curve divisors for proofs of scalar multiplication. Don't worry, guys. We're not going all the way up. No, all of this is, mathematical gibberish. But regardless, they said, hey, there's this mathematical structure. It's an elliptic curve divisor. It's inherent to the concept of elliptic curves. It's been, studied here and here before. You can also use them to do efficient proofs about, objects on elliptic curves, about points on elliptic curves. So that was really great because it beats all prior noted ideas on how to do these proofs of, let's just go with scalar multiplication, by at least a factor of 2. So by using this, just everything gets twice as fast. And saying that everything gets twice as fast is always great. We love it when things just magically get twice as fast. And one of the other advantages of it is actually the specific ways in which it scales. if we were to use traditional solutions, we would have a non-negligible, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. Basically, this is the very non-mathematical way to explain it. We have this private key inside of the proof. It's not actually a private key like, oh, if you leak this private key, you lose all your money. No, it's just this number that only you should know. And we have to convert it to a public key twice. So we would need 2 of these proofs. And that's annoying. These proofs are most of the work. Proving this private key does in fact match this public key is most of the work we do inside of these proofs and inside of the bulletproof, which we use to prove all of these statements. So with existing work, it would have been, like 2x. And then if you wanted to convert it to a public key a second time, it would have been an additional 1x. So if you do it again, it's cheaper, but it's still a notable cost. With Egan's work, if you do it for the first time, it's just 1x. You just pay this 1x penalty cost. And if you ever have to do it again in the future, there's not really an additional cost. It's effectively free. So because we actually do have to convert a private key to a public key multiple times, Egan's work is not only twice as fast as everything else in the everything else that's prior posited, but for the second time we do it, it's actually near free and not yet another cost. So Ian's work on elliptic curve divisors is just absolutely great for the performance of this work and something I'm truly in love with there. They also posited, I believe they posited their own private cryptocurrency protocol. I want to say Bcash. I'd have to double check if that was the exact label for it, because I believe the Curve Trees authors also posited a private currency protocol, and theirs may have been Bcash. I may be confusing the two. But I believe Egan also commented on how you could do one with a pair of recursive bulletproofs, which is really interesting. And then Egan also is doing the work on is also the primary author of Bulletproofs Plus, where we have bulletproofs, and then this was improved by Bulletproofs Plus. Bulletproofs Plus just slightly slimmed down the proof, saved a few bytes, which is always appreciated. And then Bulletproofs Plus is actually very interesting in how far it takes it. And there's all sorts of commentary there. But yeah, Bulletproofs Plus is also looking to be very interesting, and I'm very much looking forward to when it's a complete paper, including with all additional review and industry acceptance as something that, yeah, people should be using.
And then Monero would implement that?
Yeah, so 2 different options. We could implement Bulletproofs Plus for our range proofs, or if it was feasible to apply the same modifications that we did for bulletproofs, we could also look at using them for our membership proofs, which would actually open up a couple very interesting doors because of how specifically they present the... Sorry, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. So this membership proof is done via something known as an arithmetic circuit. An arithmetic circuit is just a long series of math statements and requirements. A times B equals C, C is 1, that lets A and B do whatever, but whatever they multiply to has to be 1, so on and so on. So bulletproofs presented an arithmetic circuit argument, and then Bulletproofs Plus, of course, carries that and also presents an arithmetic circuit argument. From my understanding, bulletproofs adds to a power of 2. So powers of 2, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, so on and so on. But what this means is if we have, 200 lines of mathematical statements in this membership proof, it doesn't matter. We have to use 256. Like, even if we don't want those other 56, we need it to be a power of 2. And the closest power to 200 is 256. So no matter what, we're paying for these extra, 56. With bulletproofs++, I believe they give you a bit more flexibility in that you can pad it to either a power of 2 or you can pad it to a power of 3, to my understanding, which is a very slight tweak, but it actually gives you a decent bit more flexibility. And with that flexibility comes performance, which is always something I appreciate.
Amazing. We actually had Benedict Buns on this show back in the day when we first implemented bulletproofs. This feels like another bulletproofs moment in terms of evolution of Monero, or actually, I guess, bigger. But that was a major transition for Monero when bulletproofs were implemented, and we saw the transaction weight essentially go down overnight, fees go down overnight. This feels actually, I would say this feels like an even larger change for Monero for all the reasons you're saying. It just opens up all these new doorways, and obviously the biggest thing being that we'll now be essentially perfectly private in terms of hiding the sender, right?
Still no forward secrecy, but
still no
regarding
where does that
quantum computers come around?
Where does that put us in relation to projects like Zcash and others? Has anybody figured out forward secrecy yet, or just only people have like kind of
such a can of worms you've opened here, Doug. Why'd you have to do this to me? I don't believe anyone has solved forward secrecy when the person's address is known. If I know your address, then I can break it apart. If I see your public spend key and I have a quantum computer, I can recover the private spend key. If I see your public view key and I have a quantum computer, I can recover the private view key. If I have the private view key and I have the private spend key, I can just do the normal scanning process. So I don't believe anyone's done forward secrecy when the address is known.
Amazing.
With Zcash and Firo, their currently deployed privacy protocols are fundamentally better than whatever Monero has today. And I'm not here to contest that. The reasons I don't recommend them over Monero isn't about merchant adoptance or anything. It's about the fragmented user story. It's this story I frequently heard when talking with some Zcash people about, someone has, Zcash in Exodus, and they think, oh, Zcash, it's a privacy coin, I'm private. It's like, no, the Exodus version is the transparent Zcash. You're not private at all, or whatever wallets it is. And I don't believe coins should promote a false sense of privacy. And I'm not here to say that, Zcash is actively and maliciously promoting a false sense of privacy. No, of course I'm not here to claim that. But what I'm noting is because there are ways to use Zcash transparently, and because we can't expect users to always be conscious of what's going on, it's hard for me to say use Zcash, because there's a risk that by saying use Zcash, the user ends up using it transparently. That doesn't change that, yes, theoretically, if you just took Zcash's privacy protocol as an isolate and you gave it, the same user base and the same amount of transactions occurring, then sure, the on-chain privacy would be far better than Monero's. And the same goes for Firo as well. From my understanding, Zcash Orchard, and I believe even Sapling, is forward private if you do not have the person's address. And then Firo Lelantis Spark protocol has the chance to be forward private, or forward secret, sorry. It has the chance to be forward secret, but the currently used membership proof is the one out of many, Groth and Boodle proof, to my understanding, and that specific proof is not forward secret. So Zcash Orchard and I believe Sapling is. I don't know about Sprout, but you can no longer use Sprout anyways. You can only redeem your coins from it, to my understanding. And then Fero's Lelantis Spark could be, the current membership proof is not. But if they move to full chain membership proofs, specifically the work I'm doing, I'm sure that you could implement the same concept of full chain membership proof with some other proof that doesn't have these properties. But the work I'm doing on full chain membership proofs, I believe if they incorporated that, then they would become board secret with regards to a quantum computer could not break which output was spent when.
All right. Very, very well explained. Hoping Fero participates in Monerotopia again as well. It'd be cool to get some Zcash people at Monerotopia, right? Get them in the mix.
Agreed. I really would love to mend that relationship. I've heard comments from kind of both sides of it. And what I kind of have to say is that unless the communities do better, I would not expect unless the communities do better, I would not expect the people we would like to have there to want to be there. Because I actually wrote a brief blurb about this prior, but basically, for whatever reason, communities can be toxic to each other, or at least there can be notable toxic elements within each community, which is toxic towards the other community at large. And the justification is being toxic is, oh, well, they're toxic to us. Why should I not just be toxic to them? Why should I be polite and actually talk with them if they're just going to shout things back at me? And honestly, I think with a lot of communities, what we kind of just need is a reset. You know, don't just go, oh, Zcash, no one uses your chain. Oh, Zcash, blah, blah, blah. But actually just have open discussions if Zcash comes up. And if you don't like it, don't comment, oh, you guys suck. Just leave. Just don't participate in that conversation. If you want to say, you know, my concerns with Zcash are this, this, and this, and, you know, try to provide the counter response, yeah, do so politely. Don't just attack people. Because as long as there are enough toxic people in community attacking the other community, that community isn't going to want to participate, and it's just going to foment their own toxicity. And we'll never get anywhere like that.
Yeah. And I mean, so much positive can come out of bringing the communities together, especially on a technological level, getting the devs talking to each other. You know, it's a waste to do otherwise. Yeah, maybe we could get somebody down. Who would be an ideal person for us to try to seek from the Zcash development team to get down there?
I mainly know of 2 researchers actively involved with Zcash. Not to say that there aren't others, just to say there's, you know, 2 I'm personally aware of and notably know. It is hard for me to recommend either as a candidate at this time. I would be happy to discuss with you privately and also do my best to reflect my concerns, but I don't want to air my thoughts on this publicly at this time.
All right, no worries. No, yeah, didn't mean to put you on the spot with that. By the way,
I don't want to say like, oh, this person would be interested, like would be great to have, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're willing to. And then they get 100 replies. Oh, you got to come. You got to come. If you don't come, you're a bad person. And I don't want that to be why they don't come.
Which is probably exactly what would happen. By the way, we're moving Monerotopia back to Mexico City. It's not 100%, but we're considering making that transition. We're going to make the decision within the next.
Didn't you make all of this commentary about Buenos Aires?
What's that?
It was all. What about Buenos Aires? What happened?
Well, we're having issues with the marketplace down there that we wanted to work with, and so we don't want to take the risk. We know that it will definitely work out in Mexico City because we're going to team up with all the same people.
It was a gorgeous venue last time.
Yeah, and the market was amazing, right? And like we know the woman who runs it, and we know this time we'd be able to onboard all the vendors to Monero in anticipation. We'll improve the internet. We'll actually have electricity running 24/7. We'll have some local nodes running so people can have a smoother experience with Monero. And then we think you just kind of build upon it from there. And it's also more centrally located. Argentina is just far, unless you literally live in Argentina or Brazil. It's just very far for most people. That's the thing. So I don't know. Hopefully that helps you with your decision for Monerotopia.
The comment that the thoughts I already had, combined with the heads up that Egan may be trying to attend, that's done much more than the location. But thanks for the heads up there. I'm hoping I'm hoping I have no prepper friends right now who bought flights in advance.
Well, no, we reached out to everybody behind the scenes. I'm pretty sure we sent you a message too. So just to people know that we're transitioning. We didn't officially put it out there yet. So this is it, guys. Do not buy your ticket to Buenos Aires. We will announce in a day or two whether or not we fully shifted to Mexico City. But please do not buy a plane ticket there.
I'd be interested to hear. Let me know.
All right, cool. Yeah, I know you. We've kind of got you going here for an hour already, and this is a Monerotopia. It's not even a Monero talk, but greatly appreciate you taking time. Can you give us some more insight, at least to what the actual path forward will look like? I know CipherStack is going to be involved, right? I believe they're going to be doing an audit on this. If you could kind of tell us what that's all about. And I know how, depending on how that goes, that may actually prevent the implementation at this stage. And then just let us know what they're doing and then what you're doing and how we get to the end goal here of actually getting it implemented pre-Seraphis.
Right. So CipherStack is putting forward. I'm doing my best to think of how exactly I want to phrase this. One moment, please.
Yeah, take your time, man.
CipherStack is putting forward proofs for the slight modifications to bulletproofs, which I keep saying are slight modifications, and we can extensively debate how slight they are, because it is still bulletproofs. Would be adding something known as a vector commitment. So the existing bulletproofs already works with commitments, Peterson commitments, which I aforementioned, even though I didn't explain. Done my best to keep all of the very complicated math out of this and try to keep things as simple as possible. And they're trying to put forward security proofs for it. The slight modifications, they're known as generalized bulletproofs. They don't just work with Peterson commitments, they work with Peterson vector commitments. Peterson commitments commit to one value, Peterson vector commitments commit to a list of values. And the authors of curve trees are like, we use generalized bulletproofs to make curve trees work. And then I reached out to them and I'm like, hey, you say you use generalized bulletproofs. What are those? Those are not a thing. You're saying you're using a thing that does not exist. What is this thing? And they reached out and they're like, oh yeah, it's our own custom slight modifications, which we didn't publish anywhere or document. We can send you a link to them. And they sent me this link and it's all of the mathematical theory. It's like, oh yeah, bulletproofs is an inner product argument, obviously. And it does all of these various inner product relationships, obviously, as one does. And we just add this extra inner product relationship, again, as one does. And yeah, then you get Peterson vector commitments and it all works out. And I'm like, what am I looking at? What am I looking at here? It's all of this math and it's all written out. And I reached out to Aaron Sarang-Nother and I'm like, what the hell am I looking at here? Because it's just all of these mathematical statements with no actual, it's not, oh yeah, here's the literal bulletproof protocol. You define these variables. You said, you hash these things together. Once you hash these things together, you continue here. No, it was literally just like the algebraic theory behind it. And they're like, oh yeah, I kind of see what it's doing.
And I'm sorry, and just for 1 second, who was it that proposed that? The general bulletproofs?
Generalized bulletproofs were by the authors of Curve Trees, who I don't immediately recall the names of, unfortunately.
Okay.
So with that,
but it's essentially it's never been audited. It's never been proven.
Right. So they did put forward an implementation along with their notes on the algebraic theory. I reached out to Iron about that, and under CipherStack, they did eventually put forward the formalization. Here's the algebraic intent that the authors provided. Here's the literal modifications to the bulletproofs protocol. And with these literal modifications to the bulletproofs protocol is basically what I needed to implement it. So I implemented those a few months ago, which was greatly beneficial. I think I estimated like 35. I think I was working at like 35 milliseconds back in Monerotopia, but since then I have managed to move to generalized bulletproofs, which already should be twice as fast there. So we're looking at something notably smaller, and we may have performance penalties elsewhere and performance gains elsewhere, but I'm really hopeful. But yeah, CipherStack did this formalization. They're like, here's the literal modifications you make to the bulletproofs protocol to enable all of this algebraic theory. And right now, CipherStack is putting forward a CCS for funding their development of security proofs for it. And with the proofs is what we would need to actually use and deploy it. Because right now there's just the idea and there's a literal modifications to the protocol you can make. And with these literal modifications, yeah, the proofs prove and verify. I can call the proof function, they prove. I can call the verify function, they verify. That doesn't mean someone else can't make a proof of anything that they want. It just means that my proofs, when I call prove and verify, work. So what the security proofs are the formal academic arguments that no one else can call proof unless they're actually proving for honest data, for the expected variables, at least not without it failing to verify. So that's the next step there, and that will give us generalized bulletproofs. If we don't have generalized bulletproofs, we actually have two options forward, which would be a thing. Neither of them are great, and both of them would increase scrutiny because that is a discussion for another day. But technically, we don't need generalized bulletproofs. Practically, yes, it is going to be painful if we don't have them. With generalized bulletproofs, there was also a slew of other tasks kicking off. So I am personally planning to put forward a CCS, not only to cover my development over these next several months, yet also to create, let's go with slush fund. Basically a discretionary fund held by, however CCS payments are currently held. And instead of needing to put forward new CCSs for auditors, and instead of needing to find, debate, create this statement of work with the auditors and then publicly get feedback on it and publicly raise funds, and that raising may take a few weeks, this slush fund would instead allow much more immediate disclosure. So it's basically, hey, we've already raised the funds. If an auditing company steps up and there's general agreement that they can do the job, we could just immediately ask for such a disbursement. We wouldn't then have to go through the entire CCS procedure. So I'm personally planning to put forward my own CCS for development and for creating a slush fund for auditors. And this will cover things such as, a more formally written proposal for what I'm currently doing. Right now, I've notated all the ideas, but this would be like the literal arithmetic circuit, the actual literal series of mathematical operations used in order to prove this. And then we can immediately have that design, reviewed and even formally verified to ensure its safety. And then with its review and formal verification, the implementation of the circuit, the literal, writing the code that is equivalent to all of those lines on a piece of paper, that could be done at the same time. So as we prove the theory of it, we could also implement it.
Amazing.
So as soon as we verified that, yes, the theory does exactly what we want, then we can immediately audit that the implementation matches the theory. And we can really just, parallelize it. As the next step of review occurs, the next step of implementation occurs. So by the time the prior step of review finishes, the next step of implementation is ready for review. So it's going to be quite a large CCS accordingly, because it's not only scoping my development for the next few months, but it's also including, several months of. It's also presumably including multiple different audits, and audits in this space are unfortunately quite expensive, and also justifiably quite expensive, but also unfortunately. So not only is it my development, but it's also this however many audits, and it's going to be a rather large ECS. But yeah, hopefully that gets funded and we can move forward, because I do believe this is critical to Monero.
It will absolutely get funded. Calling that right now. When do you guys think you're going to post it?
So the CCS for proving generalized bulletproofs is already live. I do need to work out a couple of things with Jay Berman. I've been talking with them about this CCS and this slew of work. I need to know if they want to be included on this CCS, which is for my development in the slush fund, or if they want to be included on their own CCS and self-manage it. It's completely up to them. But regardless, we will figure things out, and I'd hope to post it next week.
Awesome. Amazing. What do you think the likelihood that generalized bulletproofs, a proof is found for it?
So if CipherStack cannot create a proof, that does not mean a proof does not exist. It's Marcy said it, just that one was not found. And I just want to be clear about that. Personally, I am quite hopeful, but that doesn't change that until one is realized. It is all hope.
Can't we just ask like ChatGPT, like, yo, find a proof for it?
Yeah, that's not how I want inflation bugs to be added today.
Legit question though. Is AI being used in this realm in any real way yet that's helpful, or it's just not capable?
I don't believe so.
Pushing
I would hope no one's using it believing it's helpful. Right. I think if anyone tried to use any LLM here, it would be actively dangerous.
Don't worry, I'm not releasing a cryptocurrency anytime soon.
Happy to hear.
But if I did, I'd be using AI to do it 100%.
LLM coin, the only cryptocurrency coded entirely by a large language model.
Could definitely be a thing. So when do, I know this is a question no developer likes to answer, but when do we see this actually getting implemented then in terms of timeline?
This one I've actually provided a very aggressive time frame for. I would hope for the implementation to be ready within about 6 months.
That's insane. And then
that's not guaranteeing the academic review, formalization, audits, and all of that. But I hope implementation to be done within 6 months, and I'd hope for notable progress to have been made on all of the academic review with that. I do have to distinguish. Implementation from integration, though. Right now, I'm discussing implementation. Integration is technically something distinctly discussed, and I would hope that that is also done in that time frame, but I cannot speak with as much confidence on that time frame.
So potentially at Monerotopia in November, we could be doing a presentation on the completion of implementation.
On the proposed implementation of the proofs itself? Yeah, possibly.
Wow, amazing. I got no more questions. Tux, what do you got? I'm just blown away over here. Honestly, this is epic, and it feels like it came out of nowhere. Obviously, you've been inching us toward it for quite some time, but
it's just being fast tracked due to the ongoing situation. Well, I mean, not ongoing, but could happen again. I was just looking at the CCS page here. Here's the generalized bulletproof security proofs under the idea, and there's also Seraphis wallet work, and then Seraphis general paper review. So this is the new one that was the new idea that was published yesterday.
That's okay.
Yep.
CipherStacks. Yeah, let's get it funded, guys. Do it. Be part of history.
200
Part of
XMR.
Monero history.
220. Not up for funding yet. Currently an idea. Once it gets moved to the funding phase, then everyone can start donating.
Luke, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Stick
happy
around,
to.
obviously, if you can, but we understand if you
Yeah,
can't.
no, I'd be happy to stick around for a bit. I think I am going to turn my camera off so I can work as I listen and chime in. But yeah, happy to.
All right, sweet. Yeah, we'll bring people up on stage if you're still around at that point and they have questions for you. That would be amazing.
Yeah, also I'll just be listening in.
Sweet.
Thanks for having me. Great to have the opportunity to explain everything.
Luke, thank you so much, man. I think we'll ciao. I think we'll edit this at some point and we'll edit this out and just post this as a separate video so people who missed this.
Will I finally get my Monero talk?
Oh, you've been on Monero.
No, I've been on Monero talk before. It's just earlier you're like, oh, it's not even a Monero talk. It's Monerotopia. Well, yeah, will I get my Monero talk for this?
Oh, yeah, whatever you want. You let me know.
Are
you kidding me? Monero talk with you any day of the week, my friend.
I think we could just re-release what we just did.
I think that's I'll do that. I'll put that out there for sure in that regard. All right, Luke, thank you so much. Please stick around if you can. And
of course,
let's move it along. What do you want to jump to news, or should we bring viewers up now and do news with them?
Let's go ahead and
what's the fastest path forward so we could get
probably jumping in the news.
All right, so we'll jump in the news. Try to do that relatively quick, so then we get viewers on stage, and if they're lucky, they could get a question or two to Luke.
All right, let's do it.
And now for our weekly news segment.
Hey everybody.
Right.
Hey Tony, how's it going?
Weekend, good guys. It's a really exciting time. Oh my god.
Yeah, that is the news. That's the big news, guys. We just had that whole session was the big news.
Yeah, sorry, it kind of overshadows the new segment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, Monero is just gonna be on steroids, and I'm really excited for it. All right, let me share my screen.
We got Frank saying, "Love the discussion. I will commit to the next round of funding." Yeah, for sure, man. Everybody should be committing some amount. Just be part of history. Be as generous as you can, but even if it's just a little bit.
All right, let's get into the news section. The first thing, Google has recently started indexing Bitcoin data into their search engine. Last time we talked about Ethereum doing it. Now I guess Bitcoin is doing it. Bitcoin Magazine is regarding this as a huge development. And if you actually try to put in to do it that way, but for Monero, it's just going to come up with an image saying it's not of your business. Nothing is going to happen because that's how it should be. And this is absolutely insane. And we discussed it in the past, so we're not going to discuss it much further, but it's just, yeah.
It's really funny. I'm kind of glad they're doing this because it'll like bring to people to make them like realize further that, hey, like this is just public information.
Like what? So how deep does this go? Is it just that you can search addresses, or it's like they're associating some wallets with?
It just gives you the balance right there.
It gives you the balance. Yeah.
Just by typing in some Bitcoin address.
Right, but they're not starting to associate wallets with known entities and things, are they?
Ooh, I mean, I thought about it, but that'll be the next stepping stone, the next huge development, I guess.
I mean, that's what
I mean, that's chain analysis. Are they publishing chain analysis data at this point? I mean, that's reality, guys. That's happening at some point. That's what this will lead to. I remember I proposed that on a Reddit thing, like way back in the day. Just like I was like, somebody should build a public tool to show people how traceable, Bitcoin is. Obviously, you have block explorers.
Google's doing it for you.
This is it. This is the implementation of it. So this is silver lining here is major wake up call to people. Be like, oh wait, what? Bitcoin is that traceable?
Yep.
And hopefully this pushes more people into understanding that and finding their way to Monero.
I mean, even that's pretty bad. Being able to just see your balance. I don't want anyone to see my bank balance. That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
It's just so concerning how people say, yeah, but I have nothing to hide. Okay. And then I think the best argument is we're just going to make the walls in your house transparent. You got nothing to hide. They're probably going to say, whoa, okay, that's too much. Well, yeah, nobody should see your balance. Why? Or like even small stuff, like say that you want to make a surprise for your girlfriend or your mother, or you want to buy some surprise trip, and then they can just see that. It's just like you want some level of privacy. Yeah, but it's insane. And you can already do this. Like you could have already done this before, gone, I think, blockchain.com or whatever, and then look up the address. But this is just making it easier, essentially. The fact that you can just go on Google and do it.
Silent payments would avoid some of that issue.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. Like, it's going to be interesting if one day they're going to actually tie that address to. Well, what if you can actually type in Bitcoin and then Tony, or Bitcoin talks, Doug, and then you kind of see the balance. Like you don't even have to type the whole thing. That'll be quite crazy. But we'll see. Now this is actually really huge. So let's discuss send anonymous Monero donations to any charity or nonprofit in the world. Essentially, what they're doing is that pick a charity that you'd like to donate to. They're going to, the Monero you send goes into their international charitable fund. They're going to, if that charity accepts Monero, they're going to send the Monero to that charity for you. If they don't, they're going to send fiat to that nonprofit organization, charity, whoever you want to donate to. And all the while maintaining your privacy. Nobody knows who really donated that amount to the charity or nonprofit. So this is really important and really cool.
That's really awesome. That's amazing. I mean, this is like the perfect use case for people to start to see Monero being associated with. Obviously, Kuno does that, but now this company is. I don't know nothing about them. Is this company already popular for offering this ability to send donations anonymously, and now they just added Monero as an option? Or have they? I don't know how large they are or whatever.
I've only heard of them a couple of days ago. Yes, I'm not sure, actually.
Very cool.
But it's really cool.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful showcase of the use case, power of Monero, used for good, right?
It takes us back to Canada and what happened to Canada and people getting their bank accounts frozen and stuff like that because they could identify the person who donated to the truckers.
I'm in Montreal right now, and I just feel like it.
Go to the donate now page. Click on that, and then
I came up here. I haven't gotten a good sense of the place yet, but I'm looking forward to walking around the city.
Hit the one on the right, the pink one. Yep. And then if you scroll down a little bit, donate via Monero.
Very cool. Very cool.
On the bottom right. Yep.
Have you been to Canada before, or this is your first time, Doug?
It's my first time in Canada.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, I've been all around the world, and I never just drove 6 hours north to go to Canada.
Oh, you drove there? Oh,
yeah,
nice. Yeah.
Any Monero acceptors? I saw that that little video you posted.
Dude, yeah, we got to play that video. Yeah, play that video. Wait, Tony, pull that up real quick on Twitter.
Yeah.
Pull up my Twitter.
Yeah.
That's news for sure. I thought that was great. So yeah, I forget. I don't even know where this is. It was off the main highway. It's, I guess, about 3 hours south of Montreal in New York. We stopped at a.
Oh, that was it. Go back up.
That was the video? Okay.
Yep, that was it.
Yeah, play this.
All right, guys. It's been a bizarre day. 2 earthquakes in New York. Now we're on the road, headed to the total solar eclipse zone. And look what I found in the rest stop.
I found it.
I just found it. Wow. We did not put that there.
That's so cool.
I thought that was great. Yeah, that wasn't us. So that was a nice
some random
surprise.
rest stop.
Yeah, just some random rest stop on your way up from New York City to Montreal. It was like a small little gas station. It looked pretty fresh. The sticker. It's a good one. That's I haven't seen that one around in a while. That sticker. But yeah, there it is.
Oh. Wait, so you left New York and then I've heard about the earthquakes. So you left and then 2 of them happened after, or?
No, I was there. I was there for the earthquakes, and then we were driving for the second one. Second one we didn't feel. First one we felt like.
Wow.
But yeah, that was a nice little surprise.
I feel like it knew that Monero was heading to Canada, so the ground was shaking.
I don't know. Something's calling me up here, guys. I don't know what it is. some force is telling me I need to be up here.
That's amazing. Yeah, and it looks fresh too. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, guys, people that put the stickers, keep doing it. You know, it has an impact when you start to see the branding. Like in New York and Brooklyn, I see a lot of. I was seeing like back in the day, I'd start to see like a lot of ETH stuff. That was like one of the first ones I saw everywhere. You do see Monero stickers around in New York for sure too. But I think the more the merrier. I like that.
And they're not expensive to buy. Like,
yeah.
You know, I bought some and I just stuck them wherever I was in Europe, or you know. Yeah. So if you're in Greece, actually, you might see some because I stuck a couple. Let's go into the next thing. So let's talk about Milei and going in the exact opposite route expected of a pro-Bitcoin, a libertarian. And I actually have the article pull up here so we can go into it a little bit. But we were actually wondering what's going to happen because he got a visit from, what was the name of, from Financial Action Task Force.
Right.
And essentially they had to make some changes, or if not, there would have been some dire consequences. So we're all thinking what's going to happen. And yes,
he's bending the knee. He's doing exactly what a freaking crypto anarchist or anarcho-capitalist. I'm sorry, he's not a crypto anarchist. What he should be though, but what an anarcho-capitalist is not supposed to do. He's bending his knee to the Financial Action Task Force. He doesn't want Argentina to be gray listed by the banking system. So this is his moment where he's supposed to give the FU to them and be like, fuck you, no. I actually have these principles. That's what I'm literally all about. But no, he's not doing that. And so I don't know. Gombat, I know you're tuning in. If you want to jump up on stage, you could give us some insight into that, as to whether or not there's any justification here for what he's doing. Like if you can justify it and still maintain the principles that he claims to have. But I'm not seeing it. This is a small part of the reason why we're leaving Argentina. Obviously not because of this. We had a list of other reasons, but this was like the cherry on the top. I was like, all right, you know what? Why are we going out of our way to be there when he's working against crypto at this point?
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing.
I'm kind of happy that it's happening again in Mexico, just because it's easier. Like the venue, I wasn't there, unfortunately, last year, but everybody had a lot of fun.
Yeah, the venue is freaking amazing, and like we spoke to the girl who ran the marketplace last year and the venue, and they're very excited to have us back. So it would get rid of so many unknowns, and we can just improve instead of kind of start from scratch.
Exactly, and it's kind of like a nice goal to make them even happier this year, like sell even more for Monero, So it's gonna be a great time. But this was interesting. But
yeah, Gombat, jump on if you can. I'd love to get your take on this, whether you think I'm being too harsh, but let me know.
Yep. Let's go on to the next thing. Let's talk about so Rucknium actually analyzed the floating Monero transaction that happened in March, and basically he pointed out that the effective ring size has decreased from 16 to 5.5. Now, if you want to read this, it's 5 pages. It gets a bit technical, but it's interesting, and he goes into the black marble theory more so. And I have, where is it? So basically, just to go over what happened, how did Monero do overall? Good, though not perfect. On the positive side, the network never went down. The community immediately reacted and remained vigilant. Dynamic blocks did work. For many Monero users, they had no idea a spam attack was even occurring. On the negative side, it turns out the fee mechanism in wallets was not working properly, causing transactions to not auto-adjust their fee to higher levels. This was patched quickly, but it did cause issues in the short term, notably because of slow updates from exchanges. Because fees weren't auto-updating, they became stuck in the mempool for as long as an hour. Of course, transactions could be sent with an adjusted higher fee from users manually. However, this did delay transactions for the thousands of users who didn't. Then going into the ring size went from 16 to 5.5. And it's very interesting if you look at the chart and you go all the way to 2014, and this will be in the network, this high peak, which eventually this will become the normal. And I'm gonna be so excited for that. And then hopefully beyond. But yeah, what did
Arctic was talking about that in the chats this week. By the way, I recommend people go and read if you don't already, go and read the forums, the Monero research lab, especially the past week, 2 weeks. It's a tremendous amount of information that's being discussed there about, path forward for Monero. Well worth your time to read up on it. It's good stuff. But yeah, Arctic's been talking about the fact that, if we do get full membership proofs, well, we will, right? We just spoke with Luke. It is happening one way or the other. But once we do get it, we're likely going to see an uptick in transaction count with that implementation, right? There's going to be a lot of new attention being brought to Monero. So I think that could be a catalyst, a very real catalyst for increase in transaction count at that point as well.
Yeah, but the most important is just how wonderful the community gets together when these things happen, and we stick together and we analyze it and we write about it, and Monero held through pretty good. So, and it's going to be on even better, beyond what we can think of. So yeah, definitely go back to Arctic's talk and then see what he says about it, because that was really interesting. Then I'm not going to go into this because Luke discussed this: full chain membership proofs plus spend authorization plus linkability. Go back and watch Luke. We had him today on the show and he explained this in detail. So go ahead and do that. Let's go on to the next thing. Again, more as part of the effort to implement full chain membership proofs, Cyberstack has put forward a proposal to review generalized bulletproofs.
Yep, we just showed that, so you could.
So
that's live already. That's for donations. So definitely donate, guys, and then we'll donate to Luke's once he posts that.
Absolutely. This one is very unfortunate, but just makes up a case. So I did nothing wrong, and my 180,000 is now frozen. I had a MAYC which I sold, and Binance froze my account when I tried to ramp off. How could I have known the guy used dirty funds, and how is it my responsibility? But due to the traceability of blockchains, you get associated with people that may use it for nefarious actions, which doesn't happen in Monero. And that's why Monero is just, you need to have fungibility in a currency, so these things don't happen. But the guy essentially said, in cryptocurrency, I should have used XMR, which if he did, this wouldn't have happened. So yeah, it's very unfortunate, and I hope this guy's going to get his funds eventually. But I wonder what the process is going to be of. They said it could take over 6 months to clear this guy. So I wonder what the process is going to be. What are they going to ask him? Hope he's going to get his money back, but definitely use Monero, guys. Use Monero.
Well, to make him feel better, I don't think that's an option with his own situation. If he sold this NFT on Binance, well, Binance, you can't buy Monero anymore, so you couldn't do a swap on the custodial platform and then withdraw Monero. Unfortunately, that option's no longer there.
Yep.
This is how this is how people are going to learn, right? There's going to be more and more of these instances. Word is going to spread.
Yes.
People are going to realize.
It's also just such a huge amount of money. So guys, please pay attention, learn from other people's mistakes, and don't repeat it yourself. That's also a large amount of money.
Yeah, the real lesson here is the custodial nature of the exchange.
Yeah. So be careful.
Please don't try using NFTs on Monero. It doesn't work.
Right. Now let's discuss Shop and Bit. The usage stats for March 2024. XMR 56.91%, Bitcoin 38%, Lightning 2%, and fiat 2%. So flippening has
for March. Yeah, and we just had ShopandBit on the show, so you're welcome, ShopandBit. We just did they got the Monero Talk bump. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome to see. I think they will be at MoneroCon this year.
Beautiful.
Maybe I could try to get them to come to Monerotopia. I know they are European based, but they're it's one of the few like crypto e-commerce sites that's actually used quite a bit. So to see Monero taking over Bitcoin for one of their, this is one of the main use cases for Bitcoin, right? Supposed use cases, and now Monero has edged into it.
I haven't posted on the.
This isn't a dark market. This is people using Monero to buy everyday things. They're like, why should I be using Bitcoin for this purpose? It doesn't make sense.
This hasn't been posted on the Cake account yet, but for CakePay, month of March, it's like 85-90% Monero, like 5 to 10% Bitcoin.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess argument can be, right, people just wanted to sell their Monero effectively by using it. We
do take Bitcoin straight up, but most people just use Monero because it's cheaper. And like we even have built-in Trocador, but it's mostly just Monero transactions that people do.
Very cool, guys.
Beautiful. How the flippening is going to happen across all these.
This is winning. This is real number go up.
Coin cards, interestingly enough, they did have a lot higher Bitcoin from last month than Monero transactions. Which is interesting because Lightning, regular on-chain Bitcoin, which means people are, spending a lot on fees.
Yeah, I think I did see that. That's weird. I don't know what's up with that.
I want to see that.
Right? What would trigger that? That's, I guess. Well, that was people cashing out on their Bitcoin, perhaps, right? Bitcoin hitting like all-time highs. People saying, "Let me cash out."
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly. We do see 41% versus 20%, and usually it was a bit closer than that. Not as such high disparity, but yeah, it could be. Very well.
Yeah, probably because Bitcoin was reaching ATH. Monero is not reaching ATH.
Right, but then yet people are using Monero mostly on ShopandBit, and so that's interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah, let's see the metrics in 2 months from now or so when it comes out. Then Monero General Fund. You can see.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see somebody just making 100 Monero donations. Wow.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
On the regular.
We got some Monero whales out here. Dropping a couple hundred XMR on the general fund, just casually.
These dark market vendors that are like, we got to keep this. Monero coming in from everywhere, right? Like people that are using it, benefiting from it, running their business, whatever it is they may be doing. I would think they'd want to contribute back to the development of the network itself, right? Improve the utility. So it's a beautiful system.
Mm-hmm. Next thing, Bitcoin's silent payments will work with BirdPay in Nostra 2, only with Cake Wallet. So now if you don't know what silent payments are, basically, let me go back here actually. There's no increase in transaction size or cost, and it's a way to mix the transactions with other Bitcoin transactions that cannot be distinguished.
I can actually talk to this a little bit. Silent payments is a way to kind of allow yourself to put out a Bitcoin address and not have the fear of it being a single address. Because Bitcoin, typically, every time you want to receive a transaction to Bitcoin, you want to make a new address to separate your funds. But with silent payments, you have one address, and the sender can take that one address and derive new addresses on chain that only the receiver can spend from and identify that they are yours. So effectively, every time someone sends you a transaction to your one address, your one silent payment address on chain, it looks like it's going to somebody else, which is sort of similar to how
stealth addresses
in Monero works. It's sort of similar to that. And it's not like covering all of Monero's privacy features, but it's just that one feature.
Right,
but that's something that
right.
we're adding, and no one else has done that yet.
That's very cool. Very cool that you guys were the first to do that too, right? Like that's amazing. I mean, obviously, Cake is a Bitcoin and Monero wallet first, but amazing now that it's like you guys are beating Bitcoin native Bitcoin wallets at developing Bitcoin privacy tools, right? At implementing the most private way to use Bitcoin. That's pretty incredible that Cake is on the cutting edge of that. Nice to see.
Yep.
So Samurai doesn't use that?
No, they use something else.
They use something.
They use
Paynum,
Paynum,
right?
47.
Paynum,
Yeah,
right.
it works differently. It's got some pros, some cons. I think silent payments ultimately is better.
Samurai people are listening right now, man. They're gonna hunt you down. They're gonna call for your execution now.
Well, the whole way you use it in the interface is better because it works exactly the same as Monero, where you don't have to set up like a Paynum. You don't have to do all this extra stuff. And then of course with Paynums, there's an on-chain transaction unless you integrate with their it's like Cahoots, and then you can like collaborate with other people and avoid it. There's like a lot of stuff going on, but with silent payments, it's a lot simpler. And the one downside is that you do have to scan. You have to do like local scanning, like with Monero, to figure out which outputs belong to you. But I think it's a worthy thing. I don't think the downside is like. I think the pros outweigh the cons in this case.
Interesting.
Very cool. Yeah, it's like stealth addresses. Very cool. All right, keep moving.
Yeah, this is actually the last thing. And Frank said in the comment section, we bought Starlink internet service for our business of XMR. Debit card through Cake Wallet. Proof point for you all. Wonderful.
Cool.
And then this thing. So buy on Amazon using Monero.
What this is? What are they called again? Monezon.
Monezon.
Yeah.
So
we got to get them to jump up on stage one of these days. Tell us. I know we had them in the news in the past. If they ever want to come on, more than welcome.
Yep. So the way they work, you just drop in the link of the thing that you want to buy, and then they take care of it. And you go on the website. The logos, they took the Amazon logo and they added the M, so it's kind of interesting. I love that. Yeah, you can see it here too. Shop on Amazon anonymously. So you put in the link, and then they take care of it for you. And then you can do priority tips as well, which is cool. Refund Monero address.
Try this. We'll try this maybe for Monerotopia, for some of the things we need to buy. Maybe give that a shot. In the past, we've used coin cards for things like that. It's been great. Yeah, I have to give this a shot. Very cool.
Yeah, and that was it for this week for the news section. We had quite exciting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, amazing. Monero is not stagnating, people. It is freaking sprinting right now. Beautiful to see, right? I think we saw Monero getting its price getting crushed. Transaction count going through the roof, appearing to be a spam attack. So kind of Monero taking some heat, but turning that heat into progress, right? Putting it towards progress. Amazing to see. So I think this week was a great example of that, especially with what Luke was talking about. So exciting stuff for Monero. Let's keep moving. Tony, thank you so much, man. Stick around if you'd like. We'll do viewers on stage. I don't know if Luke is still around. If he is, maybe he can answer a question or two from people that want to jump on stage. Anybody's welcome to come on up. Gombat, maybe you want to come on up. Tell us about Milei, whether or not I was perhaps I don't know, a little too hard on the guy. Maybe there's some justification there. I'm finding it hard to see it. And everybody else that wants to jump up and talk to Luke, come on up.
All right, move to viewers on stage.
Let's do it.
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
Alrighty.
How's my sound?
You're good, man. You sound smooth.
That's what they all say about me.
They do. That is what everybody says about you.
Hey,
I
there.
had something that I was if Gonbat wants to do the Argentina thing, that'd be great. But I was trying to see if I could provoke Luke into talking about something that he barely mentions, but I think that he would speak much better to than myself.
Shoot. Let's see if Luke, I think Luke is up here.
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so like if we can all just ignore the little bit of bias and self-interest in the response. I've been saying for quite some time that in order to grow the talent pool, we need to find a way to pay more for quality developers. And that involves direct engagements with businesses because business to business is the largest part of any economy, basically anywhere in the world, except some like third world that's, government funding and all of that. But I was hoping that you could speak to the fact that a lot of talented developers are forced to choose between an upper middle class lifestyle or working on projects that actually matter to them, or they have to split their time, which dilutes their focus. I hear a lot about this stuff, but I don't think that it reaches the broader audience at the level that it should. So do you think you could chime in a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things I think is that obviously developers willing to take a haircut in order to work on Monero and volunteer in that regard. The very pure cypherpunk ethos is, like, oh yeah, people should just do things and that will be great. The end. And it's not that I don't respect that, and it's not that I don't like people working on things solely because they believe in them with no need for external incentive. But the fact is, people need money to pay for food, shelter, water, kind of necessities here. And with that, yeah, there is payment. And that's why the CCS exists, and also solutions like Magic. Donate to Monero development. If you're in the US, get tax-deductible donations because Magic is a 501c3 charity. Yeah, so there are solutions to fund developers. Yet with these solutions, every developer, even if they take money from the CCS or from Magic, they are largely still donating their time because of the opportunity cost that's posed. The job market for talented cryptographers right now is insane. Truly, it's really insane and out there. So for any developer to not receive an insane paycheck, it is them donating that opportunity and the opportunity cost with it. Yeah. So one of the things I think is that the Monero CCS needs to be more open to paying people more. I do think that's starting to change, and I'm hopeful it is. The other thing I think is that developers need to be willing to ask for more. I've seen prior posited the idea of like this, oh, well, the CCS average or the standard is generally this. And that causes some developers to not bother submitting proposals. And what I personally think is that, no, if that's too low for you, it's not that you shouldn't submit a proposal, it's that you should submit a proposal. Like if an amount that the CCS is generally paying is too low for you, that does not invalidate your own proposal. And hopefully as we get more proposals and we realize what we're missing out on by not be willing to pay more, only then could the Monero community take a step back and evaluate how stingy do we want to be here, or how forthcoming with funding do we want to be here? Because obviously, I'm not saying if someone walks in and says, for $1 million, I'll like fix this, one bug where we have a typo in some text. No, I'm not saying that any proposal that improves Monero is justifiable regardless of the cost. What I am saying is that when developers do not make proposals because they do not believe will go through, they don't put their thumbs down on the scale, weigh the CCS towards paying more in the future, and they remove data from Monero by creating the appearance that there simply aren't developers, when the truth is there simply aren't developers who are willing to submit out of belief of what we're likely to pay. So Monero community, I think, needs to be more open. Developers, I think, need to be willing to submit proposals, even if they don't expect them to go through. The other thing I note is that the CCS creates a lot of bureaucracy, not because, you have to fill out all of these forms to go through it, but because of the whole, review process, and it can take several weeks. Like it might take a couple of meetings just to get your CCS listed, and then it might take a few weeks for it to get funded. And that alone has caused us to lose developers before, just the amount of effort that goes into the CCS system. So what I actually would really love to see, and I brought this up a few weeks ago, is for an organization such as Magic, which I am a committee member for the Magic Monero Fund. I would actually love to see them start just outright hiring developers, not solely hosting fundraising for developers, but outright hiring developers with like 1-year contracts. And then in 6 months, we would restart the fundraising process, not for each individual developer in each individual line item of work, but actually for the entire development team. And then, that might take 3 months to complete. And then 3 months before the current development team's contract is up, we would let them know, yes, we are able to extend your contract another year, so on and so on. And we would be able to provide, ideally, stable employment that minimizes the headache for these developers and brings a quality amount of talent to Monero. The main reason Magic is not immediately moving forward with that is because in order to move forward with that, we have to, it would pretty much be, we walk out next week and say we are looking for $200,000 to start hiring developers. And that is a very tall ask for us to make. So it's something I proposed as a long-term goal, something I believe the committee generally agrees would be great if we could do it, but is a discussion that we have to work towards. And me talking about it here is me trying to work towards it. I'll also note that with my upcoming CCS, I plan to create a slush fund so that we can more quickly contract outside parties. And that's just in the name of efficiency on this specific issue, full chain membership proofs. But in similar spirits, both a retainer for CipherStack, who currently employs Aaron, also known as Saray Nother, in order to ensure access to their research talent and also provide a more consistent stream of payment for CipherStack. That was proposed, and even just an MRL, Monero Research Lab, sort of general fund was proposed, such that MRL can dispatch such contracts without going through the entire bureaucracy of the CCS. So I definitely think that there's change occurring and there's change being worked towards, but I think the community needs to be open to it. And when the time comes, the people with a significant financial interest in Monero need to be willing to donate to that development.
I'd just point out, there's something really sexy about how, the bleeding edge of technology and, the stuff that drives interest in these projects are really bad at driving interest in funding these projects. But there are so many solutions at every level. Like if you're mining Monero, you could just send the money to a wallet that funds these projects. Or another thing is the bounty system has its own advantages, but I think that people don't understand, if you are, we'll just say it, an underpaid developer, and your cash flow situation, you're looking at, I could get paid in 3 weeks, maybe. People have to pay their rent every 4 to 5 weeks. And and there's many solutions to this problem, but if we can't alleviate people who are willing to dedicate a lot of time to this, And then there's also the question of this is a highly cerebral undertaking. So if you add stress to the question of getting the work done, well, will I get paid? When will I get paid? Or somebody is motivated to tackle one of these problems, right? They want to work on this project, but if they're looking for work for 4 weeks as a developer because they don't know that they're going to get paid, by the time something is even approved, they may have a different job, they may have other obligations. So
yeah,
it's one of the reasons why I wanted you to speak to it, because you have been more transparent in other conversations about it. I've been screaming from the rooftops forever that this is a serious issue. So I appreciate you being transparent about that.
I think there's actually an even more damaging aspect to this than the irregularity alone. It's that if you submit a 3-month CCS, 3 month, I believe, is a reasonably common term for development. If you submit a 3-month CCS and then you finish your CCS and prepare your next 3-month CCS, it may take you a month for that next CCS to start, which means that for every 3 months, you have to wait a month, which means out of every 4 months, you're not working nor getting paid for a quarter of that time, just because you're waiting for the wheels to turn. And that's why, yeah, I actually really want to move forward this discussion with Magic outright hiring developers. The issue is to offer such safety guarantee, lack of headaches to the developers, like even just to start soliciting candidates and doing interviews. We don't want to interview a bunch of people and be like, oh, we can offer you a job and we want to, but we have to wait a month to see if the funding proposal goes through for your 1-year contract. It's all so ridiculous. And that's kind of why we're waiting to move forward and trying to talk this up a bit more, or at least I'm trying to talk it up a bit more, because it's going to end up with us asking on a leap of faith without us having proposed any results yet, asking for enough to pay a 1-year salary just to be completely raised to donations. And after we ask for a 1-year salary, if we move forward with this idea, I have to be clear, I'm speaking as an individual here and not a representative of Magic and not a representative of the committee as a whole. I'm just speaking as an individual and an idea I would like to see the committee execute on. But not only would we have to ask for this 1-year salary, but 6 months in, only halfway into it, we have to ask for the next year in order to ensure that by the time that's fundraised, we have certainty and can give any developers the appropriate heads up about their status of renewal. And that's a very large task to ask. So yeah, it's definitely going to have more conversations. And as you said, more transparency to make the community more open-minded about it.
And by my calculations, if we could get consistent donations to a fund that was well managed, I mean, we're talking about maybe 900 people donating $10 a month for a very comfortable salary. We've already demonstrated that people who are passionate about Monero development are willing to take less to do what they believe in. But if you add a layer of security to it, it's a much less anxiety-inducing proposition. So as an example, if I'm doing contracting work, right, I'm going to add a buffer for one, am I going to get paid? And for two, when the contract is done, I'm looking for work again. So it adds extra cost when we don't have a plan for paying out over many, many months, because the person has to take additional risks. And what really bothers me about this entire thing is a lot of people who are motivated to work on Monero, they have families, or they have, things where they can't actually afford to take such a risk. And they might be the most adequate individuals for the job. So, I mean, I really hope that people are listening here. Like, it does not take very much to make this happen if we as a community can consistently donate the money. And donations don't have to be the only option. But we are seriously talking about less than $10 a month here for less than 1,000 people to just get one talented developer day after day, month after month. And, you know, I've met a lot of you guys like at Monerotopia. These people are not living high on the hog. And honestly, they probably should be after what they've created. So it's like, if we don't find a way to solve this problem, especially the way that things are going, we're going to see the talent pool dwindle away, because it's becoming unaffordable to survive off of bug bounties. It's becoming unaffordable. But I'll get off the soapbox. I just hope people understand this is more important than the tech right now. This is insanely important to solve now.
I do want to make one disclosure, and generally I do agree. It almost makes me wonder if we should discuss, you know, putting out the change box at events like Monerotopia, trying to do a fundraising drive while we're there for larger efforts. I'll just apply that pressure to Doug and not elaborate at this time. But yeah, I also want to
totally on board for that, man. Any open to any and all the ideas. For,
happy to hear. Thank you.
Growing the Monero treasury.
But just in the name of full disclosure and honesty, there is something I want to be clear on. For me personally, I have to decide where I donate my time. So personally, I actually decide to donate my time largely not to Monero, although I have, I'll get to that in a second. I largely donate my time to my own project, Sarai, you know, decentralized exchange. And with that, you know, stuff like Monero Sarai. Monero Sarai is a Monero library, which implements the Monero transaction protocol and is meant as a public good for the Monero community. And it's not something I've ever requested funding for. There are discussions to request funding for its audit. That may actually be something I publicly fund. But largely, I personally donate my time to Sarai and not Monero. With regards to my work directly on Monero, like with full chain membership proofs, I did prior request retroactive funding. So I did take the risk. You know, if it wasn't going to get funded, I wasn't going to get paid for the work I did. But I was fine with that because I thought it needed to be done. I thought I could efficiently do it, and I accepted I may not get paid for it, but I believed in it. But I did request retroactive funding, and that did go through and have been paid out and everything, so that's great. With my upcoming work on full-chain membership proofs, I also am planning to request funding for that. And it's not because, you know, I don't like Monero. I obviously do like Monero. I just have to choose where I donate my time, and personally, I'm currently donating my time to my own project, Sarai, and not Monero directly. So I do want to be transparent about that before, you know, people start thinking, oh, Luke is great, they donate their time. I largely do not directly donate my time to Monero. Though also I do work on some things for Monero that I don't put under a CCS. So yes, I do still donate some time to Monero.
Extremely important topic. Anybody else have any insights, thoughts on this topic before we move on?
I wanted to ask Luke, how about a hybrid approach? Like some people in the Monero community who are like extreme fringe, they want it to be like direct donation, that model, so that the developer stays in the shadow, but they get the funding. So how about hybrid approach like CCS with Rhino and multi-sig setup, as well as Magic, as well as a culture of direct donation? Am I like, is my mic working?
We heard you, man.
So yeah, Luke, I wanted to hear your thought like that, a hybrid approach of like CCS with multi-sig, Rhino or whatever, then like Magic funds who want to pay less tax in the US, as well as a culture of direct donation, hybrid approach.
So obviously all of these fundraising systems are additive, and that's the really great thing about this. You know, if Magic, you know, does great, it doesn't make the CCS disappear and evaporate. It just means that the CCS is available for the people who want to do the CCS, and Magic is available for the people who want to do Magic. With regards to Rhino specifically and multi-sig, That's more about how these programs would internally operate, and it's not really about the effects of how they work and how they move forward. But yeah, keeping the CCS, but also adding additional highlights to Magic, because one of the reasons Magic is great, in my opinion, not to say that it's better than the CCS, it's an alternative, but one of the reasons it's great, in my opinion, is one, it can do USD payments for people who who are in the US and need a more traditional income, and two, it actually can raise a bit less because we no longer need to take the standard, 10% for volatility. A lot of these CCS proposals add 10% for volatility. But as soon as Magic receives coins, it can immediately convert them to USD. And in the process of converting it to USD, no longer be affected by volatility with regards to fiat. So I definitely think there should be a hybrid approach of a bunch of different funding mechanisms. But I think that's largely what we already have. And it's just about putting the proper emphasis on each one and covering the areas not just covered, which kind of goes back to my employment commentary. There's not anyone right now who will offer you a 1-year contract to work on Monero. The best you might get is, a 1-year contract to work at Cake Wallet, and then that may have you, as part of your work on Cake Wallet, fix some bugs of Monero, or you might, Vic might be generous and allow you to spend some of your time on Monero. Because I'm sure, if Monero has some bug or slowdown with its RPC or infrastructure, and that's affecting you over at Cake, well, it's free open source software. The easiest way for you to fix the issue at Cake would be to fix the problem upstream. But that doesn't change that no one right now will just give you a salaried employment. No one will give you dental, which is the biggest outrage in our modern society. And that's kind of why I want Magic to grow to also cover that angle. And as you said, it's also about the community being mindful and open to these ideas.
So I don't know how much people know about, for example, like Red Hat Linux or some of the, I think it's called Canon, the people who do Ubuntu. Do you remember what it's called, Luke? I don't remember, but
Canonical.
Canonical, yeah. I apologize. There are business models in Monero for service, but it should not be the responsibility of developers to do that. And that's kind of what Vic does, for example. Taking open source software and turning it into a business model does require a certain expertise in the realm of business. It is harder than running a business based on either conventional services rendered or manufacturing or something like that. But not only can it be done, it has been done for over 30 years with operating systems and open source software. There are so many opportunities for somebody who isn't a software developer to deal with this problem. And I would argue that it's probably more important because software developers, they can work a lot of places, but they cannot live without getting value for their talent. But a business entrepreneur can create opportunities for those people if they have the wisdom to do so. And it's even more fun because it's an additional challenge. So people could take, if you have been looking for how you can facilitate the development of Monero, you don't have to learn how to code. You can poach coders out of places like, like the software stack developers at Google or all of these other places by offering them the opportunity for employment that they would seek for doing something that's more noble.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask another questions like regarding this one full chain membership proof as well as what do you see means the performance upgrade means performance issue regarding full chain membership proof with modified bulletproof, and what are your thoughts about modified like bulletproof plus, which is Monero is currently using, as well as for future like bulletproof plus plus? Is it possible to use like directly implementation of bulletproof with full chain membership proof?
If we're moving on from the prior topic then, the work originally was done with Bulletproofs Plus, and my retroactive funding was for the implementation that was with Bulletproofs Plus. I did not implement it with Bulletproofs Plus, or rather, I did not implement it with Generalized Bulletproofs Plus. Instead, I implemented it with Bulletproofs Plus and this shim around it, which was not pleasant at all and was not great. When the Generalized Bulletproofs formalization was made available, the literal changes needed for Bulletproofs to become Generalized Bulletproofs, I actually did move my work over to Generalized Bulletproofs, and that did not appear in any CCS, and it will not appear at any future CCS. I initially implemented a Bulletproofs Plus that turned out to be invalid. That was my fault, or at least I perceived it as my thing to own up to. So I personally made the decision to move it to Generalized Bulletproofs without involving the CCS. I'm just clarifying this because it goes back to my prior commentary about how I donate to Monero. Before Generalized Bulletproofs was formalized, we did actually inquire with CipherStack about creating Generalized Bulletproofs Plus and moving forward with that instead of moving forward with Generalized Bulletproofs, because not only would it be a tiny bit smaller, but it would set the stage for Bulletproofs Plus, because they introduced this academic thing, a norm argument, and the norm argument of Bulletproofs Plus is argued as comparable to the weighted inner product argument of Bulletproofs Plus, which is evolving the inner product argument of Bulletproofs. So basically, we did consider Generalized Bulletproofs Plus. The math did not work out. It's not that it's impossible to create this Generalized Bulletproofs Plus. It's that Aaron Sringnother did spend time on it and did not create results. So Bulletproofs Plus kind of seems out, and Bulletproofs Plus also wouldn't be worth it upon further review because it would be a tiny bit smaller, but to my understanding, it would also be twice as large with regards to time to verify. So twice as slow, despite only being a tiny bit smaller. With Bulletproofs Plus, there is the opportunity for review and further, hopes of greater performance, but I really can't comment on that at this time.
So what are your thoughts about Seraphis as well as Jamtest upgrade? Means will we see development as pending, or will we see within 2 years? Right now, the discussion is only either of criticism or either of performance upgrades.
The estimates discussed regarding Seraphis, which is what caused me to do this full team membership proofs work now, was that Seraphis was presumably at least, and I do mean at least 2 years out. Not, maybe in 2 years, but at least 2 years out. And that's what caused me to do my work now. With regards to future improvements, there's definitely a few, but I think it's a long discussion with a lot of options, and it's not really worth getting into right now versus after we've taken this first step.
Okay, that's great. But do you see, for the future, since Monero is in an adversarial mode, we have lots of enemies with the state and the central government and other stuff, do you think in the future we will need more cryptographers, a culture of cryptography to make sure that the research and development of the research we are facing, Jamtest, Seraphis, as well as Bulletproof Plus, along with full chain membership proof, it's taking a lot of delay. So do you think in future we have to tackle that problem, that we need more cryptographers in our camp?
I'm never against more cryptographers, yet the goal with full chain membership proofs is to finally establish full sender privacy. And once we've established full sender privacy, that gives us a lot of time. Because if we have full sender privacy, we have full amount privacy, and we have full receiver privacy, we are kind of good with the privacy. At that point, our only concerns would be metadata and forward secrecy. Forward secrecy is actually very important to me, and I don't want to dismiss this. But the goal with full chain membership proofs is to get to this minimally viable point where technically all improvements are optional, not because they're required. And you can debate how optional they are. You know, if someone starts spamming the blockchain and our current cryptographic proofs aren't fast enough, or if Monero overnight onboards all 7 billion people on Earth and we can't handle, you know, the combined transaction load of 7 billion people. Obviously, we will need more efficient cryptographic proofs, and that will require this field of cryptographers you discussed, which is why it's still important to culture cryptographers, culture or focus on research, et cetera, et cetera. But I do want to note that technically the privacy will be at this, you know, minimum level.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, we need post-quantum stuff too. And regarding, okay, there is, I think we should discuss about the Argentina matter because, yeah, I think the major problem is the IMF as well as the Financial Action Task Force, because those guys, their goal is like client-state model. They are an empire. Let's face it. It's the Neo-American empire. So, and look at the Democrat Party. So they are in charge. So they want to continue that empire. So they want client state. They don't want allies. They just want client state. So yeah, I think gone bad fire, and we can discuss what's the matter with Argentina.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so to first get the facts. So basically, this new legislation is part of a new anti-money laundering law that was planned. It was designed by the previous government, so the Peronists, and it was already half approved. And so, you know, a few weeks ago, it was voted on Congress, and you know what the Milei congressman said was that we are not, you know, they said that they are not okay with this legislation. They, you know, have a lot of criticisms against it. However, the FATF is already on the country. They are, you know, auditing us right now. And because we don't want to be cut off from international credit at this moment, you know, the Congress, Milei's congressmen decide to vote for it anyway, keeping the promise that, you know, they want to rediscuss it later and you know, actually fix it and make it reasonable. But for the time being, it was voted as it is. Yeah, you know, it's obviously pretty bad because it was designed by socialists, but it's pretty much the only thing available at the moment. And so what I think on it is that, you know, there's a lot of libertarians criticizing Milei because of, for example, you know, you all seen his interviews. You know, he preached about the free market and how much harm the state causes, but yet, you know, he's president now, and Argentina still has capital controls. It still has, you know, huge restrictions in commerce. You know, the tax pressure is still insane. You know, and the central banking still exists. And you know, and you think like, you know, why an anarcho capital, you know, why someone like Milei, you know, still maintains this kind of thing. And you know, that what I think is that it just takes time, right? Because the financial system, you know,
Yeah,
ours
that's
is
true.
so.
He is a minority. Like it's a minority government, and I think the thing is either they are not like coordinating with like the Mises Institute or like the Firearms Policy Coalition or like the Guns of America, those guys. Because the thing is they need dollar. And the way to get dollar, it's like Argentina is like 90% state-owned. So they have the state. They could like manufacture guns and make a law mandatory everywhere. Every people have to buy a gun and they will get dollar instantly. So the thing is, it's like the priorities. They have to set their priorities right. And they have to look at the important things. Like they need the Second Amendment. Otherwise, the libertarian project is dead. And one
Right, like
wrong election, one incorrect government, and it's all gone.
right. So Milei has to, pick the fights he wants to take on. Like for example, like why didn't he delete the central bank on his first day? I would love for that to happen, but if he did, I mean, the central bank has a lot of debt, and if it disappears overnight, it has to pay back that debt, and the only way to do it is to print that money because it has no money. So it has to print that money, and that's like 4 times the monetary supply. So that's hyperinflation. That's why he cannot, end the central bank yet. To do that, he has to put it back on shape, and to do that, he needs dollars. So I mean, it takes time. He needs to follow a plan. He can't just get rid of everything because everything's just so broken. It's barely held back together that these things take time, and yeah, it's frustrating, but I think people are being a bit unfair as well.
Yeah, another thing I found interesting is that he stopped the spending also, like the money printer. I think he told he will make a law to make it illegal to even print money. But yeah, there is another problem. The existing money is still there. He's not burning the supply. Like he could do like 10% allocation. He will buy all the notes and then 10% he will burn them. Eventually, he could delete the peso entirely, and then he will get the political might because everyone will be using dollar or gold or Monero or whatever. Then I think it will fix the situation. Think still the problem is he's a minority government, and it's like a client state. Like US will try, like the Democratic Party as well as the neocons, neolibs, those Brussels people. They will try to make it Argentina into a colony. That's a problem. Argentina is not a nuclear armed state. It has like a great geography, but the thing is, militarily, it's oh boy, it's like too poor.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
there's a certain issue of missing the forest through the trees here. The single greatest thing that happened with the election of Milei is the undermining of the all-pervasive godlike nature of government. And when we talk about governments, we talk about these monolithic institutions that don't actually exist. It's like talking about phlogiston. It's not real. There's men with guns playing mind games with other men, and some of them don't have guns. And the power that exists behind Milei being even in the institution of government is the fact that a large blow to the permanence of the bureaucracy state was done in the minds of individuals. But whether it was a concession by the deep state to keep people participating or not, whether it was an organic movement of ANCAPs and now he's in the government trying to make things happen, maybe he's legit, maybe he's not. It's irrelevant.
Or it could be like a hybrid. The CIA wants some of any guy, because it's like they are also. Let's face it, United States militarily it was a hyperpower. Now it's a declining superpower. So they also want someone.
Well, my point, I2P, is that even that comment, it still does it because the power of the United States from the very beginning was its productive capacity on an individual level. And it's the same with Argentina, which is when you're an export economy with stuff that is so prized around the world, right? Your power is in the productivity of the individual. And the only thing that gives the state any power is how much they take from the individual. And I don't even know if Milei exists, right? Maybe he's some AI generated video somewhere. I don't know. I've never met the guy. I don't know anything about him. But what I do know is the moment in which a parking ticket receives any power is going to boil down to two things. Either somebody has a gun in my face and they're forcing me to comply, or I willingly comply by transferring value to the state because I got a little piece of paper. And if you don't acknowledge what is the reality of the situation, then what you're going to do is you're always going to be caught up in this idea of these bureaucrats over here are leveraging this pressure over there. And so it caused this person to do that, or what we're speculating on what people are thinking. And even if they tell us what they're thinking, it doesn't matter. It's what they're doing, right? And what is happening right now is a powerful movement is becoming complacent. And it doesn't matter if, like, it doesn't matter if the guy is legitimately trying to follow the values that he presented to those who, I guess, allegedly, theoretically voted for them or whatever. Money is an entirely faith-based institution. It is a religion. Government is a faith-based institution. It is a religion. And people are practicing the art of worshiping the government when they're waiting for somebody else to take the pressure off of other people who are deeply invested in the religion. There's this concept in voluntarism that is all but dead. But when I started my voluntarist anarchist journey, we had this thing that we called the magic suit, right? Where a normal human being wakes up and is a normal human being, and then he puts on his magic suit, his police uniform, his military fatigues, whatever, and he is now exercising the will of the state. What's the difference between that and a priest putting on his goofy thing? Or what's the difference between that and a palace guard putting on his stupid hat, right? When you allow people to believe that through the magical powers of a badge or something, they are no longer themselves. They are exercising the will of the state. But the thing is the reason they believe that is because you believe that. When you talk to a cop as though he's a person, and then he says, well, the law is blah, blah, blah. And you say, but you're the one doing it. Okay. Either you choose to exercise your imaginary magic suit powers or you don't. You have to force people to acknowledge that this is a religious institution. There is no way that some guy in Brussels is going to write a document and then it is going to magically compel a farmer in Argentina to not sell his cow to the Chinese. This is literally all theater. Okay. And when we talk about, nuclear armed state this, and when we talk about, well, you see, because the central bank, it's underfunded by magic fiat Fed notes. And because it doesn't have, all of a sudden the debt is just transferred to the people of Argentina. No, you tell them to go blank themselves. See how I clean it up, Doug? I'm getting better.
Dude, amazing rant. This is a top fiver right here.
There is no debt, people. There's nothing backing any fiat anything. It's not real. And something I want conversation, you're allowing the momentum of the anarchist movement to be undermined. Because when, the Democratic People's Republic of Kyrgyzstan is coming along and saying, well, I have bonds that were issued to your great-great-grandfather, and so you're not allowed to be free because my great-great-grandfather, used leveraged buyouts with slave labor and all of it. You have to call them on their blank and tell them that this is an unacceptable premise. I don't actually practice your religion. You're delusional, and I'm not interested. All right,
let's hear from Gombat. Let's hear from Gombat.
Yeah, so something I want to point out is that one thing, these new regulations are the same ones that are in El Salvador. It's just that before we didn't have any anti-money laundering. But also the thing is, sure, this thing got through Congress, but the cuevas will still exist. No, not even the most diehard socialist governments were able to deal with the cuevas. So I think the Argentinian society, is very resilient to these kind of things. And I think that one can, when I defend, he can't close the central bank because of debt and all that, it has some actual implications. It's quite different from the Fed. Like for example, when I talk about debt, that debt is actually the Argentinian deposits. So it's the money that people have on their bank. If the central bank closes, all that money just disappears. Now, is that something I defend? No, I personally don't have any money on banks, on Argentinian banks or any banks, because I don't want to play on that game. That's why I opt out. I use Monero. But it also, I don't want to, pretend that it doesn't matter, because it does, and it needs time to fix. And
Gamba.
And yeah, I mean,
question. There was that rumor that we were hearing. I think it was potentially through executive order, where it was going to be mandated that everybody has to basically submit, file, and exclaim what their crypto holdings are. Is that something that might actually happen?
I haven't heard of a new executive order asking for that. But there was many ones like that from the previous governments. And again, I mean, there's no.
Oh, that has happened in the past in Argentina, where
many times. And the first time they were like, you have to declare your holdings. The next time you have, if you declare your holdings, you'll pay less tax. then it was, please declare your holdings, you'll pay no tax, and yet no one declares it. Because we don't
that's the attack vector. Like first they will try to disclose. It's like a permanent registry, and we know what happens with permanent registry. Look at Nazi Germany. They did permanent registry of all the wealth as well as all the guns, and then the Holocaust. So I think Argentina can be saved. Like if they have the Constitution carry Second Amendment as well as a counterculture, like I'm seeing in the streets, all the protests happening, but there is no counter protest. So no one is wearing Western flags with guns and just going at them. So that's the problem.
Let's hear from Alex and Arca. Sorry, ITP. I just want to spread the wealth out here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, what's up?
How's it going,
Can you
man?
hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Hey, man.
What do you got?
Oh, I think my Bluetooth headset just disconnected.
We hear you well. You got good sound in our end.
Cool. So I've been working on my podcast and my website. This is a new topic. Is it okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
I was actually hoping to say something about Javier Milei, if that's okay.
Okay,
no,
let's jump to drunk dial me real fast.
Sorry.
Hold on. Let's close out the Milei topic. Go ahead, drunk dial me.
So yesterday, or at least in the last couple of days, I believe, there was a guest on the Tom Woods show. If you don't know who he is, he's extremely well respected in the libertarian community. Dave Smith, that circle. His name is he's like Bowtied Mora. His name is Shellbanger. I encourage everyone to listen to that episode. Very recent, last episode or two. He lives in Argentina. And one thing that kind of goes down to the fundamentals of it, what everyone's talking about, is we can't really trust everything we're hearing in the news about Milei. If you know about the Trump very fine people hoax, or the Russia collusion hoax, or all that other stuff, you understand this. America is divided into two almost evenly split camps who live in completely different realities. And what I've noticed with the Javier Milei news is that he is getting criticized for stuff that if it's scratched below the surface, just barely below the surface, it turns out to be crap. At least I've noticed over 50% of the time, I'm not even digging that hard. So if you haven't followed the gentleman named Shellbanger, I would encourage everyone to follow him. He's a lot like Bowtie Mora. I think he would be a really great guest, actually, because he could speak to this. It's a great episode. It touches on a lot of crypto stuff. So that's all I wanted to throw out.
Awesome, man. Yeah, DM me that, actually, if you don't mind. We had Bowtie Mora on.
Ask one thing. Like, have you seen,
guys, if I may?
like Gunbet Fire, have you seen like any groups like those American groups coming over there? Like, what's the condition of the party, like Milei's party? Like any anarcho-capitalist guys or any libertarian guys coming to advise them? Because he needs those more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, there are some, you know, in order to achieve, you know, governability, he had to make some compromises. There are some actors in his trenches that are, you know, not as libertarian as we would like. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say that we can fight on both fronts at the same
like
time.
he's having support from like the Republican conservative side of the Argentinian population. That's good. But the thing is, Argentina needs more than anything is the Second Amendment with Constitution.
All right.
Hello. Do you hear me?
Hold on. I want to keep the convo going. Gombat, I saw you had thrown in a question about Yuki's and how Xano differs from Monero. This maybe you want to throw that out there to Luke. And then also any other questions people might have for Luke. I just want to switch back. I feel like we're starting to repeat ourselves now on the Milei topic. So let's move on from Milei.
Sure.
Anybody who wants to ask Luke any questions while we still have him? I think he might still be with us.
Yeah, sure. So Luke, just talk about how to implement ABUKis that are able to see outgoing transactions. And so I was wondering.
Yes, it's just about Xano's auditable.
And also
auditable application.
Litecoin. Yeah.
So I didn't comment on. Xano because I wasn't aware of it, and I didn't want to comment on something I didn't know about in case I was wrong. I actually looked it up when I turned my camera off. The way Xano does it is they just remove sender privacy.
Oh.
That is not good.
So I mean, it's only for auditable wallets. So it's if you want to be able to audit the wallet of this charity, the charity no longer has sender privacy. And on the one hand, yes, that is a solution. On the other hand, there's a reason we would not deploy such a technique on Monero, because it's not selective disclosure. It's just removing privacy on the blockchain itself. Though I will note the amounts are still private. It's ineligible for usage in ring signatures, which is how that they enforce that when it is spent, it is clear that it is the only output spent because it is directly specified.
Kayaba Nerve, sir, what an honor to speak to you. Do you hear me?
He's got
yes,
you. Yep.
I hear you.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I have a question motivated by a speculation of shifting the Genesis block, but you don't have to go into that, why not to do it. My question is, now with the generalized bulletproofs, is it still a curve cycle, or it's still about curve trees, right?
Prior to Seraphis, we would be using a towering curve cycle, which gives us a curve cycle without switching curves, with a bunch of commentary on the quality, performance, and security of that. So basically, yes, the proofs do still use a curve cycle. It would be a curve cycle. Mathematically, it's really weird. Technically, it's not possible for ED2551.
For each block,
yeah, just for everyone else.
For each block, there would be like a tree, right? I remember you explaining it to me. I looked at your code, and it's really difficult for me, but I like to elucidate the things for the common listener. And yeah, so as I understood it, per each block, there is then like a tree which can be pruned. My question is, because I'm sort of against it, Of course, this is life. There's also always some guy that is against it. I'm not against it. Like, I'm just asking. I find it great. Like, all kudos to you. Is it within a window? Can you like do the full membership proof without doing the full chain membership proof thing? You know, or do you always have to have an archival node?
It's not that each block has its own tree. It's that the outputs in every block are added to the tree. Just to clarify that, technically you could define a new tree every year, and then you could do membership only off that single tree, but there's not exactly benefit to that.
Not even a performance benefit?
Technically there might be a performance benefit, but then anyone would be able to see what year your transaction is from, which is really messy.
But it would be
like
possible,
if we were to do that, we wouldn't want to segment it by year unless your focus is on the pruning of historical data. But we would want to just define 2 trees or however many trees. And then if we have 2 trees, with every transaction, we would alternate which one it's added to. So it would either be added to tree A or it would be added to tree B. And then because our trees are twice as small, that would change how the math works out a bit regarding performance.
I had a question.
So
Go ahead.
the answer is yes, it can be done over a time horizon, right?
It can, but I wouldn't support that.
Okay, thanks.
I wanted to follow up on the Sano Auditor wallet. So I look it up, and what you say is true. That when it used to be the case that Auditor wallets had to use 0 mixins when sending transactions, but apparently that's no longer the case. So now they can use mixins. So I guess ring signatures when sending. So
so wait, you're saying auditable wallets with ring signatures?
Yeah, so in the docs, they
where
say
are you seeing that? Because I only pulled up their 2020 link, which says no, they're not allowed to be used in ring signatures. And
I
that's
think they added
how
it like a week ago, wasn't it? Or like 4 days?
No. So I'm saying on the docs that there was a restriction that you cannot use mixins when you send coins from an auditor wallet. But
yeah, the current doc site, docs.sano.org, auditable wallets FAQ. Are there any restrictions? You cannot use mixins when you send coins from an auditable wallet.
Yeah, I just read that. Yeah, it says below said that it changed in a hard fork, but I got confused. No, actually, that's the case.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Other restrictions were lifted in a hard fork. That one remains.
Yeah, that's.
And if you do add that restriction, then yes, auditable wallets are trivial. You know, the whole outgoing view key is to detect when an output is spent. If you remove the ring part of ring signatures, that's very trivial to do. The way this would work is it would allow anyone with the quote outgoing view key to calculate the key image despite being unable to spend the output.
Yeah.
But that would require specialized hardware?
No, not really.
None of this is proposed for using specialized hardware.
What you said before, like we were talking last episode, this quantum resiliency of Monero is the one-time address on the chain because of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange that happens. Does it reveal the sender? Like if I have your address?
No, that's not the target for quantum computers. But the one-time key itself is not the target. The one-time key itself is not the target because it is made up of a spend key and a view key, but a quantum computer can only recover the discrete logarithm of the one-time key. So it can't differentiate what part of that discrete logarithm came from the spend key and what part of it came from the view key.
Exactly. So a quantum computer from the one-time key cannot catch their private key, right?
Right,
because
but
it's perfectly hiding.
Well, they actually can obtain the private key for that output.
For the one-time address?
Yes, they just can't link it to any other one-time address.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Well, so a quantum computer can recover the private key of the one-time address. They cannot recover your spend key, nor can they recover your view key. Once they have the private key for the one-time address, as of right now, they can calculate the key image for the one-time address, and therefore they can determine when any output was spent.
But they don't get the spent key. I'm getting confused here. Sorry. They get the
So the spend key and the view
one...
key, the spend key and the view key are wallet concepts that are used in your stealth address, and they are used internally. But your spend key and your view key, when instantiated into a one-time key, do create exactly that, a one-time key, a public key only meant to be used once, with a private key only meant to be used once. So this one-time key, there is a one-time key that is a private key that is derived from your spend and view key. Quantum computers can recover that one-time key. They can't link it back to your wallet. They can't go from this one-time key to your spend key and your view key, but that one-time key is what's actually used to spend that output if you have all of the other information associated with it.
Exactly. So with the one-time key and the one-time address, and with the quantum computer, you get the one-time key, and you are able to spend from just that output, not from any other one.
Well, you wouldn't want to actually spend from it if you have a quantum computer. You can just mint infinite coins regardless. That wouldn't be the immediate target. The main focus is that if you have a one-time key, as in the private key, not as in the public key we see on chain, you can calculate the key image for that one-time key. And if you calculate its key image, you can detect when it was spent. So as part of this full chain membership proofs proposal, I was looking at it and I noted it inherently, like just the proposal I made without my intention for this, inherently noted malleability. And when I was doing my review of the proposal, I noticed it allowed malleability of the output key. Now, instead of the output key being the variable x times the constant g, technically, you could have it be the variable x times the constant g plus, let's say, a variable a times the constant z. The letters for these don't matter. And I was reviewing that malleability because obviously when you suggest malleability, that's just a concern. You know, if someone can manage to get two different key images for a single output, they could double spend, and that's a concern. So I was trying my best to review the impacts of this malleability. And what I realized is that as far as I can tell, it's still perfectly secure. And because it changes how output keys work, it changes the effects of a quantum computer. A quantum computer can recover for a output key x times the constant g. They can recover x. But if the output key is x times the constant g plus a times the constant z, they cannot recover x and a. They can only recover whatever the x would be if it was of the form x times g. But it cannot recover each of the independent.
Right?
Huh?
Sufficiently enough for the signature, but you would not get the private key. You would be able to.
Actually, if you created that signature, it would be a signature for technically a different output. Because right now the output key is defined as x times the constant g, and that x is what decides your key image. But this quantum computer, when it looked at an output key of the form x times the constant g plus a times the constant c, it would actually recover a different x value. And because it recovered a different x value, it would actually create a different key image. So it would actually have a different private key, and it would have a different key image. And that's why a quantum computer would be they would be unable to detect what the actual key image for that output was, because it would effectively create a new key image with its ability to solve for the elliptic curve discrete log problem. So it's not that this scheme isn't theoretically forward secret, it's that the exact full chain membership proof proposal I'm making, the proof that I use to sign for it and to prove ownership and prove the linking tag is correct, the key image, that proof is not forward secret. So the scheme theoretically could be made forward secret, but one of these proofs would have to be augmented.
I had a question that has come up a lot on this show, And hopefully you've listened to enough Monero talks to notice how there's a great interest in, because the hash rate for Monero is what it is, and it has, I don't know if you've looked at it recently, but it's not super great. There's been a lot of interest in the effect that merge mining, especially with other practical use case chains, what effect that would have on Monero, both the tokenomics of other people mining it, but then also what effect it might have on price, what effect it might have on performance, and so on. And as many people chiming in is the same as how many different opinions there are on this. But isn't it DarkFi? Who was it that's going to be merge mining with Monero already as a project?
Tari, right?
Yeah, Tari, that's what it was. My main question is, what do you think about not only the implications of what Tari already plans to do, but what do you think the greater implications for merge mining just generally would be for Monero? And then how much could you scale such a concept for the value of merge mining for both the project and Monero itself? Mostly asking Luke.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't commenting. This isn't something I have an opinion on.
Got it. So there's another.
Sorry, I couldn't be more helpful there.
No, I would rather have the honesty than, some just empty space. But
that ear piercing silence.
Can I interrupt you all and just praise you for the community that actually helped to refurbish the classroom in Venezuela with my great friend Nahu Puku, who just joined us in the chat. Just wanted to say that we have a little gift. I think you saw the link to Monero-chan, the teacher, that we're gonna put like a mural in the classroom for all the donations that Monero community did, also to contribute the Hive blockchain, where we try to teach kids and give the opportunity to learn the Web3, decentralized, socialized platforms, not only because of the platform itself, but also to learn the blockchain, which is a part of our lives. We have so many people on the world, and I think that like almost 1/3 of them are using blockchain. And at this point, probably the biggest thing is to kind of bring it into the masses without even the people knowing that they're using the Web3. I know I'm ranting. I just want to say that.
No, all good. So you guys basically completed your Kuno.
Yeah. We're like literally 0.11 XMR from a full donation from Kuno.
Very cool.
This is amazing work from your community, because we first kind of leaned into Hive, which is a powerful community that has a lot of people and a lot of users. And that's why I said the comment before, I think that Monero lacks one thing, is that marketing power on decentralized social mediums that can bring income into Monero to get those developers, because I've listened to all the 2.5 hours of conversation, and that's the problem in most of the blockchain stuff. I work myself as a community here at Komodo, and Komodo is also a Zcash derivative. So I've been around the block since 2017, but I love the work and I love the community building, and CBRS is something that started with community building first, and philanthropy came afterwards as it's a low-hanging fruit, you must say, in the third world countries, with an amount that is maybe just sustainable in in our lives can change lives in their community, you know. So this is something that we're doing, and it's a 6th week. In 6 weeks, we achieved all the funding from you guys. And
yeah, no, that's very cool, and I love how it was the Monero community that stepped up. Meanwhile, you guys are using Hive to do it. Did you guys figure out how to perhaps integrate Monero in other ways, teaching these young kids about Monero, getting them making video? Because I believe part of the goal here is to teach them how to make videos, and then they'll be posting it on these platforms.
Exactly.
But perhaps getting them to do educational videos around digital cash.
Exactly what you're saying. And we have the CBO, I think, is from the Bitcoin family in Latin America that actually wants to provide free online courses for these guys in that hub, you know. So and this time we fixed all the necessary things. We have like the door double lockdown because we want to provide also a couple of tablets and laptops, and have the place being invitive, you know, for the community, and the community can have the opportunity to learn a lot of things for free, you know. Next thing that we want to do, since we already fixed the classroom, is to provide the internet for 6 months and have the teachers teach them how to use the Web3. So at the end of that, they could be like self-sustainable to provide internet for themselves, especially for maybe couple of accounts. They can do the donations. And
very cool. If you want, you could bring up some photos if you want. You should share your screen to show people.
Sorry?
You should share your screen to show people what we're talking about here. I think you had posted some images of completing it.
Absolutely. I think I've shared some of the links. Most definitely this one I have here. Shall I put it in the comments?
Just do the share screen. Just do present, and you could pull it up real quick if you want to show us.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
So sorry, y'all, but I think I have to head out about now.
All right, Luke. Thank you so much, man. Greatly appreciate you sticking with us today, answering everybody's questions.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I was happy to.
And we're super excited. I mean, there's no bigger news in Monero right now, and I can't remember the last time I was so excited about Monero in terms of its technological improvements. So, cheers, man.
Thank you.
We all greatly appreciate it.
All right, have a great one, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Do you guys see it?
No. Yes. There you go.
Okay, now I do.
So this is a little gift from CBRS to Monero, actually. It's being made by a local artist in Venezuela who did that, and it will be like a mural on the wall in the classroom in Venezuela in that school, that we most definitely share more information in Kuno and Hive.
Very cool. Very cool. I like that. And like I said, I'd be excited to see how you guys incorporate lessons about Monero itself and like the importance of digital cash.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts with safety, right? Not your keys, not your coins. And I think that's a very important lesson to learn from the beginning, and just honing your skills into whatever you want to do, right? Just being aware of what is happening on the blockchain side, where you can like establish yourself as an artist, as a blog writer, as a video maker. It's just, I think the first step is the securities for young kids, because the school is like from 13 to 17. So most definitely you want to like teach them how to be prepared for that, especially where in a country where $40 is annual monthly salary, like it's crazy. It's crazy to hear that, and I'm glad that with a simple idea that we can just do small things to connect to the director of the school, to have opportunity to have a classroom, to be on this show, and I think there's a lot of cool things that we can maybe now Puku can say a bit more about the situation and what we're dealing with.
Go for it, man. You're muted, or we're not getting any sound.
Word has it, by the way, CBRS, that it is fully funded now.
Yeah, we are fully funded together with the Hive and through XMR. And as I said, oh, no way, you said that
he's not getting sound.
No, we're still missing like 0.11 as said on the Kuno, but we are fully
You have to wait for the block to clear, but it is.
Oh, gotcha, man. That is so cool. I have no words to simple things and simple actions we can do
Alaskan, the Monero Jesus.
Indeed.
It wasn't me, bro. I lost it all in the earthquake. It's like,
God.
I think he's having issues with the sound. We could have you guys. You could jump up another day, no problem.
Absolutely. I just want to be thankful for all the community and all the love that you brought to our project, and
love to see that it's actually
now it's the internet and the laptops and you know, beautiful things will happen in different places, and if we can afford that, let's go. You know, I will never step back from that. The philanthropy mind is more giving than receiving. You know.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful to see, man. Kuno has turned out to be one of the the best real working use cases of Monero that we have going on right now. And
I cannot wait to show you the mural on the walls. You know, when we finish that, it will be a beautiful thing.
I would love to see an emphasis on using open source operating systems and platforms. I would also love to see, you know, try to kindle an interest in the future of open hardware as well.
Absolutely. And we are all into that. As long as we can communicate and share ideas, we're all into the thing that betters the other person, right?
Wow. My wife is the spitting image of Monero-chan, by the way. So it's good to see that you guys have shown some appreciation to the woman that makes it all go. You know.
Absolutely. Did you guys receive that? Did you guys seen it?
Are you going to be at Monerotopia?
Where is that in the wherever you're deciding now to have that?
Well, we're thinking of moving it to Mexico City, where we had it last year.
I'm in the Netherlands together with my friend Minigunner, but who knows? God's ways are unknown, so maybe I'll be there. And
would love to have you.
A perfect occasion.
Would love to have you. Thank you so much, man. Well, you know, you're welcome to jump on in the future. Give us more updates.
Thank you. We'll come back and actual progress. All the things.
Yeah, like I said, most excited to see when the kids, you know, if we get the kids learning about Monero, you know, maybe have them start their own little wallets. I'm sure people would send them a $1 or $2 each that they could, you know, mess around with, start to learn how to use it, understand it. Very
we
cool.
Have a perfect guy for that. As I told you, you know, you see, oh man, his name. I don't want to say it incorrectly, but small steps. I tell my colleague Minigunner, small steps. We're going to change the world, small steps, one classroom at a time.
Very cool, guys. All right, guys, we're about almost at 3 hours. I'm here in Montreal, ready to go check out the city. So I'm ready to call it, unless there's anything critical that people want to get out before we call it. Is there anything we missed this week? I mean, we fully covered the biggest story of the week, and we had the best person on possible to cover it. We had Luke Parker on. Amazing that he gave us all that time.
Hello.
Yeah, what's up, Drunk Almy? Go ahead, chime in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was testing my audio. I was going to say, but I did have something I was trying to chime in on. If you're teaching students, I'd also, besides kind of floss software ethos and all that good stuff, I would maybe introduce them to the concepts of sound money and non-Keynesian economics. It's actually very easy to grasp. It's just logical and intuitive. There is a children's series of books. I think they might even have a Spanish version of it called the Tuttle Twins. Unfortunately, they are Bitcoin. They do have an episode that's kind of Bitcoin maxi, so you'd have to deprogram the kids on that and teach them the importance of fungibility. But
I have those books for my chat for my daughter. Tuttle Twins.
Yeah, we have to get them young. Like every group is trying.
Yeah, we're not hearing you. You're garbled on my end, at least.
Yeah.
So you might want to.
Fine, Mike. Is it now fine? Oh, still it's a mess. Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good.
So you might want to check out the Tuttle Twins. Really, lots of resources for all age ranges for homeschooling and whatnot. And if there's a second, moving back to Argentina, I'd love to plead my case for why Monerotopia should be at Argentina rather than Mexico City. Maybe next week, if not today.
Yeah, you can go ahead, give us a quick pitch. I will be very honest, though. Momentum is really shifting in that direction. But go ahead. Let me hear what you have to say.
Well, first of all, the cherry on top with Milei, I would be very, very skeptical of any news coming out about what's going on down there, as I kind of mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
I think there's a very conscious effort to make him lose his luster to foreign audiences so that they don't get inspired by it. But besides that, we do have the Formosa folks down there who would be great to sync up with and meet. And I think there's a lot more than what meets the eye on the headlines as far as the crypto regulations that are being discussed. A lot more. So I would maybe let that play out a week and dig more. Maybe get Bowtied Mora back on along with Shellbanger or Bang Shell 11, whatever his Twitter handle actually is, and then have him on with Gunbat. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, obviously, I was getting pulled towards Argentina in a very real way because of all these things you're talking about, right? Excited about the organic. But my biggest issue is just coordination. Like we're not able to get the marketplace on board as easy as I had hoped, and I just don't want to take the risk with not having that element working as best could be, because I think that's a really amazing part of Monerotopia. And we could have it rocking and rolling this year, where people come down in November. They're going Christmas shopping. I2P, can you mute yourself, please? With people coming down there and the market rocking and rolling. So I don't want to risk that not working out. And I'm just not seeing that happening in Argentina as easily as I had hoped. So I think it's too big of a risk. And then the second major thing is the distance. So just in talking to people over the course of weeks, in person too, at Finiforum, kind of reaction is people are very excited about Argentina. They've never been, they want to go, but then they also realize it's 12-hour flight. So I'm getting a lot of that.
12 hours.
Yeah, depending on where.
More than 12 to Mexico from where I'm at.
Yeah, well, you're another far from everything person, but
26 hours to Argentina.
Yeah. There we go. Jesus.
Maybe one of the bigger points.
Go either way, but I'm just saying.
I know.
Maybe one of the bigger points is if we do have the Monero kind of hardcore enthusiasts going down there, we would be infusing a lot of Monero into that community. They basically already have a circular economy. What they need is more liquidity, basically more Monero to,
Well, listen, we're still doing that with Copa Monero is happening, and that's happening in Argentina. That's happening in Formosa. That's happening in Iberete. If anybody wants to make their way down there and watch the final match in Monero.Town,
when is that?
That's That, well, we haven't decided when the final match is going to be, right? So we were originally trying to line that up with Monerotopia, but we haven't decided the date of when that final match will be. But they're going to start, the matches are going to start in June, and then there'll be 15 matches total, 12 teams, and we'll be broadcasting all the games. Perhaps there'll be ways for people to perhaps donate to the teams. We could do things like that. And then there's going to be the Monero prize for all 12 teams that are competing. We're going to be self-funding it ourselves from our Monerotopia conference budget. But then we're also probably going to do a Kuno so we can boost the prize. And that's going to be a great way to get Monero out into, to the people of Formosa through Copa Monero. But yeah, that's still happening.
Okay.
But yeah, man, I hear you. I hear your thoughts. The other thing too is Formosa is very far from Buenos Aires. So it's not like we show up in Buenos Aires and you're going to have the Formosa people down there. It's a 2-hour plane ride, and it's a major expense for anybody who's in Formosa. Like most people, a lot of people have never made their way down to Buenos Aires. It's very expensive for them. We talked about ways of trying to make that happen, like renting a bus and stuff, like bringing people down. And it's not like we're going to show up in Buenos Aires and we're going to have like the Formosa economy come down there to us, right? And then for people to go up to Formosa, it's a big separate trip. It's a good 2-hour plane ride from Buenos Aires.
And what's the name of the crypto convention that's happening parallel to the original thought?
LabBitConf.
So I think going down there and demonstrating that 2 towns in Formosa, the province of Formosa, at Bitcoin Conf would be, holy shit, we've got 2 towns in our own country that are completely have a circular economy already.
Yeah, no, I know. That is, yeah, I agree.
That's not the way that crypto's going, bro. Number go up. Who cares about a circular economy?
We could figure that out, of not missing that opportunity. Maybe we could be represented at LabBitConf anyway.
Drunk Dial just volunteered. Actually, I don't know. If
Yeah.
you heard.
Maybe I did.
Yeah, I'm thinking. So Monerotopia in Mexico. If we do pivot to Mexico City, final decision hasn't been made yet. Now I'm certainly hearing everything you have to say, Drunk Dial. Trust me. I listen to everybody, but maybe if we do, best case scenario, we do Mexico City the weekend after. So for those that so at least we're not overlapping with LabBitConf. So we'd move it back. So we're currently looking at the second weekend in November instead of the first, as we were originally going to do in Argentina.
Well, I might even live in Mexico by then, but I'm still pushing for Argentina. Mexico's beautiful. I love it. But all right. I was just kind of wanted to chime in on that, plead the case.
Cool, man. Yeah, no, definitely heard you. Maybe I'll hit you up offline too. All right, guys. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Alaska, what do you think, man, of moving it back to Mexico City? What's your take?
I regret to inform you, I'm actually sort of in favor of Mexico, even though I was really all about Argentina. Lucky for us, we had refundable tickets, so it's no big deal. But one of the reasons why I lean towards Mexico City is, if we want to make sure that it is comparable to the amazing scene that was found last year, and it's something that we can count on. And it's not like Argentina isn't an option the following year. I actually think that it would be really cool to broadcast the game at Monerotopia. Like how it would kind of like add, or maybe have the game where, the day after, like the close of Monerotopia, we get like some big hotel bar or something to broadcast the game and people who stick around or whatever. But I just agree with you that the practical implications of the market was my favorite part. right?
Yeah.
Like by far, the market was my favorite part because
And
to
we can make it so much better too, right? There's so much.
And I mean, we learned so much from the market in Mexico last time. And the concept of injecting Monero liquidity into an economy, I mean, that's applicable anywhere. It's what we go through up here. It's what we go through just about anywhere. But there are people in Mexico that they show up and they take Monero now. And in a sense, I think it does more for the circular economy, even in Argentina, to see a circular economy in Mexico. And I really felt like our hosts in Mexico did a stellar job, and it would be kind of cool to reward them with a return trip as well. So I guess I kind of agree with you, man. That
awesome, man.
I'm probably the way to go.
All right, I'm
well,
going.
One more point. It's sort of related to what I've already touched on, but if LA BitConf is happening at the same time and you're streaming the football game from Formosa, you're basically doing a marketing coup against all the other crypto at that convention, because you're showing, look, Monero is a circular economy. It's already established in your country, and we set up a marketplace. I understand it would probably be much more difficult to reach out to new vendors down there and gather them up. But if everyone going to this shitcoin conference sees the whole intention and purpose of cryptocurrency in action, and it's right in their backyard, I think that novelty, they'll just be like, holy shit. What are all these other shitcoins? This Monero is actually being used right here, right now, and it has been for a couple of years now. So I think it would draw pretty much all eyes at that conference directly to Monero in a place that is basically fertile ground for huge adoption. Like they're searching for answers right now. They're desperately searching for answers.
Yeah, no,
now,
dude, I know.
Right now.
I know.
Okay.
I would like to hear. We lost Gombat, huh? Yeah, he's off. It's just it's going to be, we've been talking to the market. We tried talking to the marketplace. We have somebody down there who's a local, very personable. It's been approaching them, and it's like the feedback I'm getting is it's a slightly risky proposition, and then on top of that, to have it be far for a lot of people, that this is where I'm hesitating. But obviously, everything you're saying with La Bitcoin, this is why we were excited about it in the first place. But also with La BitConf, they weren't, once things got going, they weren't really looking to be all that helpful to us. So we kind of would have been on our own with that as well, trying to get the La BitConf people to understand that we exist and they should come over to us. It wasn't like they were with open arms being like, well, let everybody know what's going on. I mean, maybe I'd be able to get them to that point, but they certainly weren't there yet.
I wanted to say something about
great in theory, but a lot of coordination and a lot of room for risk. A lot of potential risks there where things can go wrong and not work out.
I wanted to say that the prediction that Alaska Anon said about the organic adoption, it's truly what happened. It went down and then it went up a little bit, but 5.5, it's like this elliptic and chain analysis and how they're all called. Like they're putting Roman in jail. I don't know how is that status. And we are worried about them not knowing how to do chain analysis on Bitcoin. And we're worried about them, come follow me to the haystack. And it's an exponential situations of divergence and two inputs and there is so much, they cannot follow it simply with 5.5 outputs. It's an attack. Okay. If that's your argument, it is an attack, but still, what are they going to do? And my point is that scaling, that's saying that Christine is going and she's preventing the tide from coming into the beach with a shovel, right? The adoption will take care of it. There is even the argument to be made that with 16 decoys, well, if there are more transactions, then it's fine. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to rise to 32. Yeah, thanks.
I don't know. See, yeah, Slavebot, you're opening up a completely there's a new topic right now at the end of the show.
Yeah, I want to say something. Is my mic working? I'm having this problem.
Yes, your mic is working. It's not good mic. It's never been a good mic, man. Will be, I don't know how much more honest we can be. But we love your contributions. We love your contributions.
I want to ask one thing. How is the security, Doug, as well as Enon? Like, how is the security in Argentina? Like, what guys did you face any problem? Like, because
that's a good question. That's actually a good. I got you, man. That's actually a good point. When we were down there, we never felt unsafe. We were down there in November. We were excited, but what we did see was we saw. Hold on, let me just answer your question. What we saw was a lot of poverty among people that you can tell were kind of like once doing well in their lives, like middle class that now became poor and desperate, which is very sad to see. Didn't see that really. Never felt fearful from that, but you had people coming up to you, you're eating outside, and they're asking for the food off your plate. Like, people that you could tell, really this isn't something they've been doing their whole lives. So, but I never felt threatened. I have heard from people though directly. Recently, actually, somebody from the Monero community that told me that they know somebody that got 2 phones that got stolen on 2 different occasions, which I thought was crazy, and that a gun was pulled. This is what somebody had told me. So there are, I haven't experienced that. I felt safe. Mexico City, I don't know. So the comparison, that place between safety of Argentina and Mexico City, I don't know.
I got some stories about Mexico City too, but I don't want to go into that.
Yeah, so I mean, these places are, but Mexico City was great when we had the conference down there. Knock on wood, everybody was perfectly safe. That the area that where you do the conference in the Roma district is a very secure area. The venue is literally around the block from like a police station, and that it's a very safe neighborhood.
I actually thought that the police station was the most dangerous part. Like there was people fighting right in front of the police.
Oh yeah, you did have your yeah. I guess Alaskanon saw a different version of Mexico City than I did. And so I guess everybody has their experiences. Once again, Argentina, Buenos Aires for me was perfectly safe. I never felt unsafe in my
I got gun pulled out in the Netherlands for 2 times in 10 years, so I'm not sure how
the thing is security. Like whatever drunk dial me said, it's correct, but we have to make sure that Trevor, like the important guys like Liu or Ko or those guys don't get in trouble. So that's the problem. But the thing is, in Argentina as well as in any Latin America countries, the situation is there is a cartel problem, there is a security issue. So we have to make sure, like
Argentina doesn't have a cartel issue.
Argentina doesn't have a cartel.
Yeah, the most dangerous people in Argentina are the unions, not the cartels.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like it's an alliance. Like there is an alliance. Like those people with the guns. So we have to make sure, like properly, we have like a one contingent down there, so they can handle the stuff. So like that, we have to make sure everyone is careful. We do not want everyone to get in trouble. So that's
I think ITP, the cameras probably make it hard to notice, but Doug is like a monster. And not only that, but like at the pizza dinner, I mean, there was like 4 former spies that are like bodybuilders. It's like the people who do.
We were a unit down there. I gotta say, we were an impressive unit down in Mexico.
Yeah, you really don't have to worry about like the security because I mean, just on like a body mass, like some of the people who are volunteering at the doors and stuff were the kind of people that you really wouldn't have to worry about your security.
Yeah,
like it's real.
Whenever Milei came to power from the opinions, it started shifting. The drug problem as well as the cartel problem, they are trying to pop up. Like, it's like a recurrence theme because the socialists or the leftists, they want to make sure there is instability, there is like poverty. So yeah, they will do those kind of stuff. So yeah, we have to make sure about.
All right, guys, I got to cut it out here. Any last words? Just short things anybody needs to get out as a message to the community.
Thank you for the support to the Venezuelan classroom that we make a hub for crypto enthusiasts and Web3 developers. And I'll see you next time, guys. Thank you for the opportunity.
It's 102% funded now.
It's crazy. I saw it. I wanted to thank you. I want to thank you for that. I saw it already.
It's probably Tux from all that Fed money. Just ask the samurai guys.
I bet that I2P can tell you all about it.
Great show.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Drunk Dial Me. Thank you, everybody. I see people commenting on Argentina being, like I said, I never felt unsafe in Argentina at all. Beggars are in every major city. Yeah, 100. I travel a lot. But I will say it was, some of the people that were asking for food. I was just saying this in terms of, you could kind of see that these were people that were formerly middle class. Just sad to see. I never felt threatened by them in any way. But just saying, that's a reality down there. What's going on, and sometimes out of poverty grows crime. Just trying to explain to people what the situation is like down there. I2P, we're going to cut it here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Slave Blocker, Alaskanon, Tux. Thank you, man. I don't know if you're still around. You could close it out for us if you are.
Still here, yep.
Sweet guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Very exciting show. Full membership proofs.
Community power, guys.
No bigger news. Community power. Everybody enjoy the solar eclipse if you're anywhere near it. That's what I'm going to be doing. Super excited about that.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Adios.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and ODYSEE, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram.